Chapter 300. Tan Xiu didn't explain it to Wolfhead. He wanted to make Nine Dragons Island the most suitable place for cultivation in the world. Even if he explained those methods to Wolfhead, Wolfhead would not be able to understand. After landing on Nine Dragons Island, Tan Xiu was keenly aware that the density of the surrounding spiritual energy was at least 5 times higher than in other places. Even taking a deep breath would make him feel comfortable. If he built the entire Nine Dragons Spitting Pearl secret land, the density of spiritual energy on the island would be dozens or even 100 times higher than in the outside world. However, he didn't dare to go too far. If the density of spiritual energy here was 100 times higher than in the outside world, ordinary people would probably choke to death if they breathed in. Don't ask so much. You'll understand when the reconstruction is done. Tan Xiu waved at Wolfhead, signaling him to go do something else. Then, he turned around and walked to the edge of the square. Looking down at the border between the woodland and the beach, his eyes finally stopped at the place that protruded for 100 meters. The red sun rose. Tan Xiu clearly saw a beam of purple chi descend from the sky the moment the red sun rose and merged with the top of the extended line. Supreme King Purple Chi. How is that possible? How can there be Supreme King Purple Chi on Earth? Tan Xiu's body shook violently, his eyes filled with shock. One must know that the Supreme Monarch Purple Chi was the most unique existence in the immortal world's Purple Sun region. There were only 9 places in the entire Purple Sun sector, and 9 of them would descend every year. Every one of them would bring great benefits to immortals. Tan Xiu had obtained 2 Supreme King Purple Chi when he was in the immortal world, but he had paid a great price for it. But he never expected that there would be Supreme King Purple Chi here. If I can absorb 1 Supreme King Purple Chi into my body, it will definitely bring me great benefits. I might even be able to break through and reach the flesh regeneration stage. Excitement. Ecstasy. It was difficult to express Tan Xiu's feelings at this moment. Although it hadn't been long since he returned from the immortal world, his cultivation was still slow. If he wanted to have stronger power, he had to find a shortcut. A few minutes later, Tan Xiu appeared where the Supreme Monarch Purple Chi had dissipated. When he got off the ship, he didn't pay much attention to this place. But at this moment, he released his immortal sense and the astral power in his body surged in his meridians. He immediately felt that the spiritual chi here was very thin, but under his feet, there was an extremely strong fluctuation of spiritual chi. There's a spirit spring down there. Is this the mouth of the spiritual spring? Tan Xiu was stunned. He was so shocked by this discovery that it was hard for him to recover. Originally, he speculated that the entire Nine Dragons Island must have a spiritual vein, but he didn't expect that there was not only a spiritual vein here, but also an earth vein spiritual spring. Spirit Spring. The earth vein's spiritual energy impacted the Star City's Spirit Spring, which contained a huge amount of earth vein's spiritual energy. If a cultivator were to sit on it and cultivate, not only would he be able to absorb the spiritual energy of heaven and earth, but he would also be able to extract the spiritual energy from the spiritual spring. The effect of cultivation would definitely be twice the result with half the effort. Are there any spiritual springs in other places? Tan Xiu then recalled the other 8 harbor trails that extended into the sea. He immediately strode away from this place and rushed toward the nearest harbor trail that extended into the sea. 10 minutes later, when he stood in another place, he released his immortal sense and the astral power in his body surged crazily. A look of ecstasy suddenly appeared on his face. Yes. He could clearly feel the existence of the spiritual spring. Could it be that there are spiritual springs at the end of the 9 extending harbor trails? In order to verify this big idea, Tan Xiu circled around the entire Nine Dragons Island and began to survey. Every time he verified one, the excitement on his face became more intense. When he had verified all 9 harbor paths, the smile on his face was incomparably radiant. There was a spiritual spring at the end of each of the 9 harbor trails. 9 spiritual springs. Tan Xiu was already sure that with the existence of these spiritual springs, he could easily cultivate a large number of experts in the future. Even after the reconstruction of the 9-dragon-spitting pearl secret realm, it would not be a problem to cultivate a large number of experts who could break through to the immortal realm. I must hurry up with the reconstruction of this place. Tan Xiu pondered for a moment and suddenly decided not to hire a foreign construction company. Immediately, he took out his satellite phone and dialed Long Zhenyu's cell number. Hello, Long Zhenyu speaking. Who is this? Long Zhenyu's deep and low voice came from the phone. It's me. Tan Xiu said. Tan Xiu. Star City, Long Group's manager's office. Long Zhenyu looked dazed for a moment before a smile appeared on his face and said, Tan Xiu, I've been calling you for the past few days, but I couldn't get through. Where are you now? Is there something you need from me? Asked Tan Xiu. It's no big deal. I just wanted to ask if you need any more medicinal herbs, said Long Zhenyu with a smile. It's the list you gave Chu Yi and the others. My dad met his old comrade a few days ago. He's running a medicinal herb business in Haiqing province. At that time, I followed my dad and mentioned it to his old comrade. I didn't expect that he would have a lot of good goods there. Yes, I want as many as you have, said Tan Xiu immediately. That's good then. Long Zhenyu said with a smile. I'll contact him later. I guarantee that I'll get a batch of good quality medicinal herbs for you. That's right, why did you call me? There's something. It's very important. Tan Xiu said with a deep voice. Although I really want to talk to you face to face, I'm abroad now, so I can only talk to you over the phone. Say it. Said Long Zhenyu with a serious expression. I bought an island abroad and want to develop it, said Tan Xiu. But I need a reliable construction company. Long Zhenyu looked awkward as he forced a smile and said, Brother Tang, this matter is not easy to handle. We don't have a construction company abroad, and we don't know much about the situation abroad. Can we register a company here? Tan Xiu said. Bring all the construction teams from China. I'm willing to spend more money. Long Zhenyu forced a smile and said, It's not a matter of spending more money. It's very troublesome to register a construction company overseas for a small project. You're wrong, Long Zhenyu, said Tan Xiu in a deep voice. Helping me transform the island is definitely not a small project. I'm going to invest at least 20 billion yuan. How much? Long Zhenyu jumped up from the table and shouted, 20 billion, at least, said Tan Xiu. Long Zhenyu's breathing turned rapid. He had never heard of any major project worth more than 20 billion yuan in China. If his Long family could take such a big project, they would be able to make a lot of money for at least 2 or 3 years without accepting any other projects. I'll take it. Long Zhenyu's eyes turned a bit red as he shouted. No problem, said Tan Xiu. Since you're willing to take it, you'd better come to me immediately tomorrow. I'll send someone to Saipan to pick you up. Long Zhenyu quickly said, I still have some concerns. If I can solve this concern, I can organize a construction team and even start to arrange the construction equipment. I need to prepare to go to the island you bought. What concerns? Asked Tan Xiu. The situation in Saipan, said Long Zhenyu. We're not familiar with the situation there, and the government there is a lot of trouble. You have a wide network, so do you have any reliable people to help you there? Tan Xiu was silent for a moment before he slowly said, there should be. Long Zhenyu looked happy and quickly asked, who is it? A friend of mine, said Tan Xiu. He seems to have some influence in Saipan. I can pay him a visit if there's any problem you can't solve. No problem, said Long Zhenyu in a deep voice. All right, I'll go to Saipan tomorrow. No, I'll go there today. Let's discuss a place. After I get there, I'll meet up with your men. Lao Bay Resort. Said Tan Xiu in a deep voice. After hanging up the phone, Tan Xiu pondered for a moment. He would definitely go to Saipan himself. He would have a good talk with Tom Regis. If he also wanted to meddle in this matter, then he would give him some benefits. Furthermore, After the reconstruction of Nine Dragons Island was completed, this place would become his base, and he would pass through Saipan more often. It was very necessary for him to have a good relationship with him. Big Brother Tang. On the coastline 100 meters away, Yu Yanyan had taken off the thing on her face, and her yin-yang face had turned into a beautiful one. Tan Xiu put away the satellite phone and came to Yu Yanyan's front. He was surprised and said, "Your face, I used some tricks to make myself ugly," said Yu Yanyan with a smile. "That way, those pirates will despise me." Tan Xiu suddenly understood and secretly praised the girl's intelligence. "Is there something you need from me? Didn't I ask them to send someone to send you all away?" "They sent the others away, but I don't want to go," said Yu Yanyan quickly. "I think this place is good, and it's safe to follow you. So I want to stay here for a while. We're a bunch of men, it's not suitable for you to follow us," said Tan Xiu with a forced smile. "It's all right," Yu Yanyan said. "It's exactly because you're a bunch of men that I'm staying. Do you need to eat? I can cook for you. My cooking skills are pretty good. As for your clothes, I can also wash them for you. I can also help you clean the house. In short, I'm still very useful for staying here." Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing and said, "Forget it. Since you want to stay, then stay. I'm going to leave Nine Dragons Island today and go to Saipan. I'm afraid it'll take me a few days to come back." "What are you going to do in Saipan?" asked Yu Yanyan, confused. "I'm going to do something," answered Tan Xiu. Yu Yanyan hesitated for a moment and asked, "Can I go with you?" "No." Tan Xiu shook his head. "You can't come back with me if you want to go to Saipan with me. Otherwise, you can just stay here obediently. I'll bring my friend here and you can go with him when he leaves." Yu Yanyan hesitated for a moment and said, "Then I'll stay here. I just found out that the environment on this island is really great, and I can even live in such a luxurious palace. To tell you the truth, I've never seen such a luxurious palace in my life. Big Brother Tang, you're really rich." Today's first update, please pay attention to Quiet Night's WeChat account, brothers and sisters. There will be a lot of gossips about Quiet Night and a lot of great gods there, as well as many photos of Quiet Night. Also, Quiet Night will send out big red envelopes from time to time. Please pay attention and reply to everyone's messages at any time. _. Chapter 301. Money. What Tan Xiu lacked the most right now was money. He wanted to transform Nine Dragons Island, and the funds he needed was a terrifying amount. The money in his card was simply not enough. Therefore, he was still thinking about where to get the money when he called Long Zhengyu. However, the transformation of Nine Dragons Island was not something that could be done in a short time. If he was given some time, maybe the magnificent Tang Corp could start to make a profit. With a steady stream of funds, he might not need to worry about funds in the future. "You came to see me. Is there something you need?" Tan Xiu changed the subject. "Well, I called you to have a meal," said Yu Yanyan with a smile. "I wanted to find you for breakfast, but I couldn't find you. It's already noon, so I came here to try my luck. I didn't expect you to really be here." "Let's go." Tan Xiu nodded. "Let's go back and have a meal." At this time, the corpses in the castle were gathered and burned to ashes. Those who were captured by the pirates were sent back. As for those who died here, their corpses were also taken away. As for how to settle them, it was up to those who left. Furthermore, for the whole morning, Wolf Head and the others were cleaning and picking up the broken things. After some simple cleaning, the place looked a lot cleaner and tidier. After lunch, Tan Xiu looked at Yu Yanyan, who was cleaning up the bowls and chopsticks. He then gestured to Wolf Head and the two of them came to the palace gate. "What's your order, boss?" "I'm going to leave Nine Dragons Island and go back to Saipan to handle some things," said Tan Xiu. "I'll leave this place to you." "Don't worry," said Wolf Head. "If that Yu Yanyan girl wants to stay here, Then let her stay, said Tan Xiu. Let her do the laundry and cook for you if she wants to. Also, you're to reinvestigate the entire island during my absence. If there are other people, immediately arrest them and wait for me to come back to deal with them. If not, you'll be stationed here. I believe it won't be long before the engineering team comes. We'll be stationed here later, said Wolfhead. However, we have too few manpower, so it'll be difficult to guard the entire island. Yeah. Tan Xiu sighed. I don't have enough people under me. Wolfhead's expression shifted and he quickly said, do you want me to go back to China, boss? Pick another group of people. I know of some powerful characters who haven't retired for long. The longest is only 1 or 2 years. Also, they used to be special forces. If they train well, their strength can continue to improve. Tan Xiu's expression changed, and he asked, compared to you, how are those people? Wolfhead said, a few of them are not weaker than me. The others can also be mentioned in the same breath as my team members. No problem. Tan Xiu decisively said, then go and handle this matter. The defense of the island was left to others. Remember, it's fine even if the person you bring is slightly weaker. I need them to be of good character. Furthermore, since they're here, they're my subordinates. They must be absolutely loyal to me. I can guarantee that. Wolfhead nodded. But regarding the treatment, Tan Xiu stared blankly for a moment. Then, he looked at Wolfhead with a strange expression and said with a forced smile, it seems that I didn't talk much about the treatment when I brought you here, did I? It seems that I haven't given you a penny so far. All right then. I'll give each of you 500,000 yuan a year. As for the people you brought, I'll give each of them 300,000 yuan a year. If they perform well in the first year, they'll receive the same treatment as you in the second year. Got it, said Wolfhead with a smile. I'll transfer 20 million yuan to your card after I return to Saipan, said Tan Xiu. Just tell me when you run out of money. If you need to add any equipment here, don't hesitate to tell me. We can't be stingy as long as it's necessary. The smile on Wolfhead's face turned thicker. He suddenly realized that it was a wise choice to follow Tan Xiu. Not only did he have a wonderful life by following him, but he could also kill criminals and pirates. The life under the rain of bullets made him find the hot-bloodedness he had in the past. In addition, there was sufficient funding for them. Boss, don't worry. I will definitely help you train a group of elite warriors. Tan Xiu waved his hand and said, there's no problem with it according to the military discipline. But you can't teach them martial arts training. You have to listen to Mo On's arrangements here. He was strong enough, and his brain was smart enough. I will leave this place to him for the time being. Yes. Wolfhead had no objection to Tan Xiu's words. He had seen Mo On's strength and knew how terrifying Mo On was in the past. Therefore, being led by Mo On, he was absolutely convinced. Tan Xiu asked, where are the ships left behind by the pirates? I circled the island in the morning and didn't find any pirate ships. Wolfhead said with a smile, their ship didn't stop at the port, but at a deep bay. When those people came here, they were afraid that there was danger on the island, so they didn't dare to land openly. We've checked them. There are a total of 3 ships, and one of them is an old warship. I don't know where they got it, but each ship is equipped with weapons. Tan Xiu nodded and said, as pirates who have survived for so many years, their background is not bad. If we encounter them at sea, I'm afraid it won't be easy to kill them. We might even be sunk by the weapons on their ships. Wolfhead nodded and said, that's right. Pirates can roam the sea unhindered, so they have the capital to do so. Boss, the passenger ship you took to 9 Dragons Island has already transported the residents of South Bird Island. I'm afraid it won't be easy for you to return to Saipan. The signs of those pirate ships are too obvious. I'm afraid you'll be sunk by the patrolling warships before you reach Saipan. Tan Xiu slightly furrowed his brows and hesitated for a moment. Then, he slowly said, can you temporarily modify the ship? Wolfhead shook his head and said, it won't be easy. After all, there are a lot of weapons on it, and it will take a few days to dismantle them. Forget it, then. Tan Xiu forced a smile and said, if that's the case, then I'll wait for 2 more days. I'll rush to Saipan after the passenger ship comes back. At night, Tan Xiu sat cross-legged on the roof of the palace, silently cultivating. The star force stored in his body was getting thicker and thicker, and he could break through to the flesh-strengthening stage at any time. However, no matter how hard he tried, he couldn't cross that hurdle. It wasn't until 4 in the morning that he left the roof of the palace and came to the end of the path leading to the port of 9 Dragons Island. There, he sat cross-legged on the spirit spring. Yesterday, he discovered the existence of Supreme Emperor Purple Chi. Therefore, he wanted to give it a try and see if it would still exist today. If it did, he would be able to absorb the Supreme Emperor Purple Chi. Time fleeted by. The red sun rose and the first ray of sunlight shone on the sea. A wisp of Supreme Emperor Purple Chi came from the eastern sky and instantly fused into Tan Xiu's head. Boom! Tan Xiu, who was sitting cross-legged in cultivation, felt his body tremble and his mind seemed to be split open by an invisible force. Immediately afterward, a wisp of Supreme Emperor Purple Chi rushed into his sea of consciousness and swam downstream. In just a dozen breaths, it had already swam several times in Tan Xiu's meridians. Collect. With great difficulty, Tang Xiu's consciousness enveloped the Supreme Emperor Purple Chi and pulled it into his dantian by relying on the tearing force. The star force in his dantian continuously approached the Supreme Emperor Purple Chi, trying to wrap it up. However, the Supreme Emperor Purple Chi had a strong repulsive force. It struggled again and almost broke through the star force's encirclement several times. Gradually, the Supreme Emperor Purple Chi seemed to have adapted to the existence of the star force and its struggle became much weaker. As the star force approached, the Supreme Emperor Purple Chi shrank into a ball the size of a thumb. Fuse. Tan Xiu gritted his teeth and controlled the star force to squeeze the ball of Supreme Emperor Purple Chi. It took a full 10 minutes, when the star force and the Supreme Emperor Purple Chi were completely in contact. Finally, the repulsive force of the Supreme Emperor Purple Chi dissipated and merged with the star force. Tan Xiu felt that at this moment, his body seemed to be ignited, his blood became boiling, and his internal organs were washed and tempered by waves of invisible energy. The energy in the skin layer became more compact. Although the thickness was reduced, the toughness became stronger. Tan Xiu's divine sense had been paying attention to his body. To his ecstasy, because of the Supreme Emperor Purple Chi, his body was undergoing a crazy transformation, and his internal organs were constantly tempered, nourished, and became stronger. His tendons and bones became more flexible and strong. The muscles all over his body began to split apart. Each cell would split into 2 and then into 4. The weaker cells were mercilessly expelled from the body, while the stronger cells were left behind. Even the number of muscle cell layers began to increase during the cell division. Every cell had become stronger than before, and every layer of cells had become thicker than before. In fact, the number of cell layers had doubled in just half an hour. Although there was no change in Tan Xiu's size on the surface, his physical strength had skyrocketed several times at this time. If someone shot at Tan Xiu at this time, he might not even be able to break his skin. At most, he would leave a mark on it. Ha ha ha! The moment Tan Xiu opened his eyes, a carefree laughter came out of his mouth. As his body jumped up, he was instantly on the surface of the sea. Tossing. Slapping the waves. The joy of the breakthrough made Tan Xiu indulge himself for a few minutes, and then he returned to the spiritual spring, dripping wet. He found that when he was cultivating, the spiritual power in the spiritual spring would also be continuously extracted into his body. Moreover, what surprised him most was that because of the extraction of spiritual power, his speed of absorbing the power of the stars and the sun was faster than before. Chapter 302. On the way back to the castle, Tan Xiu was particularly happy. After all, he had been stuck at the skin strengthening stage for a long time. Now that he had finally broken through with the help of the Supreme Emperor Purple Chi, his strength had increased several times. Even his overall strength was twice as strong as before. Before, the first time he saw Viviani, he felt that he was not her opponent. After all, the aura she exuded was very terrifying. But now, he was confident that he could fight her if he didn't know that Viviani didn't know any martial arts. Even if he couldn't defeat her, he could still injure her if he paid some price. If I can absorb the Supreme Emperor Purple Chi every day, I'm afraid my cultivation will be able to break through to the peak of the flesh strengthening stage in a short time, right? Tan Xiao made up his mind that he would come here to cultivate every day before he left. He would strive to break through to the peak of the flesh strengthening stage as soon as possible. 3 days later. Not long after Tan Xiao sketched out the reconstruction plan of 9 Dragons Island in his mind, the liner that sent the residents of South Bird Island returned. On, you're coming with me to Saipan. I'm afraid we really need Tom Reggie's help in the reconstruction of 9 Dragons Island. Tan Xiao put away the reconstruction plan and spoke in a deep voice. Tom Reggie can be trusted, boss. Mo On nodded. If he dares to make trouble, I don't mind fixing him myself. Tan Xiao smiled and said, let's go. Everyone else, stay here. We'll go to Saipan to see him. I originally planned to look for the construction team in Saipan, but I've changed my mind now. I've contacted a friend in the real estate business in China, and he promised to bring a construction team here. I hope the reconstruction of 9 Dragons Island will go smoothly. 2 days later. The liner docked at the Saipan port. Tan Xiao handed the berthing procedures to the ship's staff to handle as he took Mo On to the Lao Bay Resort. Hey, I'm here. Number 17 Seaview Villa. Alright. After contacting Long Zhengyu, Tan Xiao immediately rushed to the number 17 Seaview Villa. Upon seeing Long Zhengyu, Tan Xiao gave him a big hug and immediately said, let me introduce you. This is Mo On, my man. This is Long Zhengyu, my friend. Mo On shook hands with Long Zhengyu and immediately said, Tom Reggie is on his way here, boss. He's expected to arrive soon. Tan Xiao said, then let's wait for him first. I have something to discuss with Long Zhengyu. You wait for him outside. Alright. Immediately after. Tan Xiao and Long Zhengyu came to the villa. After taking a seat, Tan Xiao straightforwardly said, Tom Reggie is Mo On's friend, a ruthless character who has experienced life and death. In addition, he was also the owner with the most shares in Lao Bay Resort. He has a lot of power in Saipan. If I want to rebuild the island I bought, he can help a lot. Long Zhengyu narrowed his eyes and said, I can let him become a shareholder. Tan Xiao said with a smile, I know you will make money, but don't earn so much from me. The reconstruction of 9 Dragons Island is a big project, and I need to pay a hefty price for it. Long Zhengyu hesitated for a moment before he finally asked with a serious expression, Tan Xiao, we may be brothers, but I still want to know if you have any ideas for the reconstruction of 9 Dragons Island? Tan Xiao handed the reconstruction design he carried with him to Long Zhengyu and said, there are already some buildings on 9 Dragons Island, but I need to expand it to a larger area with a lot of buildings. There are also a lot of special requirements. Take a look and you'll understand. Long Zhengyu opened the reconstruction design. After looking at it for a few minutes, his eyes were filled with shock. After a long while, he looked up and looked at Tan Xiao with a shocked expression and asked, tell me, why did you invest so much money? This place will be my turf in the future, said Tan Xiao with a smile. I'm the highest existence on this island. Long Zhengyu forced a smile and said, brother, you want to build a country? Tan Xiao chuckled and said, how can I build a country with just a few dozen square kilometers? Tan Xiao, I don't know much about your capital, but you don't have much money, do you? Asked Long Zhengyu. This project is very big, so how much do you need to invest in the early stage? Let me tell you first, we're brothers, and business is business. I can only earn less from you in the project at most, but I can't pay you in advance. You know, the project we cooperated on almost all the funds of my Long family. Tan Xiu stretched out a finger and lightly said, I'll give you 10 billion in advance. Do as you see fit. You can ask me for more money when you run out. Where did you get so much money? Asked Long Zhengyu in amazement. I ran into some trouble in Hong Kong, but I also got some unexpected wealth, said Tan Xiu with a smile. I won't tell you the details. In short, I can transfer the money to you at any time. But you have to guarantee the quality of the project. I promise. Said Long Zhengyu seriously. Tan Xiu nodded and said, I don't have much time to oversee the reconstruction of Nine Dragons Island. So if you don't have much time, it's best to send your most trusted people there. Also, I have some men on the island who will be in charge of the security there. So you don't have to worry about any trouble. All right. Long Zhengyu nodded. Immediately after, the two chatted for a while before Tom Reggie arrived with Mo on. Mr. Tang, I'm so happy to know that you're back. Huh? This friend is. Tom Reggie warmly shook hands with Tan Xiu and then turned to look at Long Zhengyu. He's a friend of mine in China. I called him here to talk about some business cooperation projects, said Tan Xiu. I called you here to ask if you're interested in making some money from me. From you? A puzzled look appeared on Tom Reggie's face. Tan Xiu explained the matter from beginning to end and finally said, you're a local tyrant in Saipan, so it's more convenient for you to handle a lot of things compared to Long Zhengyu. So, if you want to get involved, make your decision now. A shocked look flashed in Tom Reggie's eyes as he asked, Mr. Tang, can you really come up with more than 20 billion yuan? 20 billion may be a big number, but it's not a problem for me, said Tan Xiu with a smile. What I care about is the progress and quality of the project. I can get the money as long as you have the ability. No problem. Tom Reggie heavily nodded and said, I'm interested in any money-making project. Besides, I'm doing business with a big boss like you, Mr. Tang. Mr. Long, this project is Mr. Tang's. What do you think if we cooperate? We'll discuss the profit distribution later, said Long Zhengyu. All right. Tom Reggie nodded with a smile. You can discuss it among yourselves. Tan Xiu smiled. I don't want to know. Shortly put, you just need to deal with the quality and progress of the project, and everything will be fine. Do the two of you want to visit the Nine Dragons Island I just bought? It's a must, said Long Zhengyu. After all, we still don't know the situation on the island. Hence, we can arrange the specific project process after we finish the on-site inspection. Let's not delay any further. Shall we set off now? Tan Xiu said with a smile. Long Zhengyu looked at Tom Reggie. Mr. Tang, can you wait for a moment? Tom Reggie asked with an awkward expression. I still have some important things to deal with here. Give me half a day and we'll leave early tomorrow morning after I'm done. How about it? All right, then I'll rest here for a day. Tan Xiu said with a smile. I'll send someone to arrange your accommodation right away, said Tom Reggie immediately. I'll live here. Tan Xiu waved his hand. Long Zhengyu is one of us, so I won't be polite with him. Just go and busy yourself. Let's have dinner together after you're done. Then. I'll take my leave first. As Tom Reggie left, Long Zhengyu squinted his eyes and said, Tan Xiu, this Tom Reggie is a good guy. He seems to be a straightforward person. How can you do big business if you don't have courage? Tan Xiu said with a smile. Tom Reggie's identity is not ordinary. He used to be a very powerful character. So don't beat around the bush and play tricks when dealing with him. If he has something to say, just say it. He's very smart and capable. Don't worry. Long Zhengyu laughed. The most important thing in cooperation is integrity and trust. I can do that. That's right, have you contacted your family since you left the imperial capital? I heard from Ouyang Lulu that your aunt looked for you, but she couldn't get in touch with you. Aunt? Tang Min's face appeared inside Tan Xiu's mind. He immediately shook his head and said, I haven't contacted her. After I came abroad, other than contacting a few important people, I didn't contact too many people. Why is she looking for me? I don't know. Long Zhengyu shook his head. You can ask Ouyang Lulu if you want to know. Or you can contact her directly. Tan Xiu was silent for a moment before he nodded and said, I'll contact her. Let's go. I'll take you to have a Thai massage. The Thai massage here is good. That's right, I also met a friend here. He's a very heroic and loyal friend. Who is he? Asked Long Zhengyu. I didn't ask much about what he does. Tan Xiu shook his head. He should be a big boss. He's called Fatty Old Lee. That's what I call him. Fatty Old Lee. A surprised look appeared on Long Zhengyu's face as he said, You're not talking about the Northeast Steel King, Li Laozhan, are you? Yeah, I think he's called Li Laozhan. Tan Xiu said with a smile. Long Zhengyu raised his thumbs up and praised, I really didn't expect that you would meet Li Laozhan here. That fella is an amazing person. Besides, he's famous for his arrogance in the country. Unless someone has the ability to attract him, he generally won't look at anyone. You mean, he's very arrogant? Tan Xiu was surprised. Chapter 303. Long Zhengyu forced a smile and said, He's not only crazy, he's crazy to the extreme. The Li family is very powerful in the Northeast, and Li Laozhan is a ruthless character among ruthless people. However, he's very crazy, yet he's very low-key. If he approves of you, he'll definitely confide in you. But if he doesn't like you, he'll never pay attention to you. Tan Xiu suddenly understood and said with a smile, I'll call him and ask him if he left here or not. 10 minutes later. Tan Xiu and Long Zhengyu saw Fatty Old Lee in the Thai massage parlor. At this time, he was wearing a floral coat, big pants, and a pair of flip-flops. A thick cigar was dangling from the corner of his mouth as he sat cross-legged in the parlor's rest area, looking leisurely and contented. Fatty Old Lee. Tan Xiu approached and called out. Upon hearing this, Fatty Old Lee immediately grinned and waved his hand as he slowly stood up. Yo, Long family's brat. I didn't expect you to know Brother Tang. Last time I went to Star City to find Chen Zhizhong, I saw your father there. How's Long Hanwen? Fatty Old Lee immediately said with a smile after seeing Long Zhengyu. With a bit of respect on his face, Long Zhengyu looked at Fatty Old Lee and said, Hello, Uncle Lee. My father is fine. Fatty Old Lee stared at him and snorted, What Uncle Lee? Do you think I'm that old? Learn from Tan Xiu and see how others address me. You are, in the future, don't be like your father, always being so serious at every turn. Since you're friends with Tan Xiu, call me Fatty Old Lee later. This, Long Zhengyu was a bit hesitant. Tan Xiu said with a smile, since Fatty Old Lee said so, then call him that. He's a forthright man from the Northeast and won't stick to trifles. Upon hearing this, Fatty Old Lee immediately patted Tan Xiu's shoulder as he laughed and said, Did you hear that? Did you hear that? My parents gave birth to me, but Brother Tang knows me best. Damn it, it's a pity that this is Saipan. It seems like the immortals from the country won't appear here. Otherwise, I'll drag you along to burn yellow paper, kill chickens, slaughter sheep, kowtow, and become sworn brothers. Tan Xiu laughed involuntarily. Long Zhengyu looked at Fatty Lee and Tan Xiu, and finally said, If that's the case, then I'll address you as such. If my dad punishes me in the future, you have to help me, Fatty Lee. Fatty Old Lee laughed and said, Don't worry. If you tell your dad that I'm the one who made you call him that, and if he dares to teach you a lesson, I'll go to Star City and beat him up. Heh, I'll find that Chen Zhizhong to spar with while I'm at it. Next time, I'll definitely beat him up so badly that he won't be able to find his bearings. Long Zhengyu had a strange look on his face as he said, Fatty Li, if you beat Chen Zhizhong until he can't find his bearings, Tan Xiu will personally deal with you. Zhengyu Long. Tan Xiu shouted in a low voice. A confused look was revealed on Fatty Li's face as he asked, what do you mean? I beat Chen Zhizhong until he can't find his bearings, why does Brother Tang want to deal with me? He and Chen Zhizhong. Tan Xiu sighed inwardly. He felt that concealing it at this time was a bit unjustifiable. With a forced smile, he slowly said, Fatty Li, if you can beat Chen Zhizhong until he can't find his bearings, I won't care about it. Even though he's my apprentice. What did you say? Fatty Li was dumbfounded. His eyes stared at Tan Xiu without blinking, as though he had seen the most incredible thing in the world. He even began to doubt whether there was a problem with his hearing. Long Zhengyu pointed at Tan Xiu and said, Fatty Li, you didn't hear it wrong. Tan Xiu is really Chen Zhizhong's master. He's the Endless Virtue Pharmaceuticals' big boss, Chen Zhizhong. Fatty Li took a step back as he looked at Tan Xiu and incredulously asked, are you really Chen Zhizhong's master? Are you two joking with me? I'm not. Tan Xiu replied with a straight face. Fatty Li's lips shivered a few times as he hurriedly asked, how is this possible? Chen Zhizhong's martial arts has been very powerful since he was young. I fought him when I was young, but I couldn't beat him. Tan Xiu, you were not that old when Chen Zhizhong was young, right? Tan Xiu chuckled and said, his basic skills were indeed not taught by me. But the real martial arts he practiced was taught by me. That's why I told you before that if you were to challenge him now, I'm afraid you'll be beaten up miserably by him. It took Fatty Li a long time to digest this shocking news. He looked at Tan Xiu, raised his thumb and praised, Brother Tang, I'm getting more and more curious about you. You're simply an extraordinary person in my eyes. You can casually go to the casino and win 1 billion. You even know the big boss of this place. Especially that brat Wang Rui, he's been bullied by your men to the point of crying. Brother Tang, please tell me, what kind of celestial being are you? I'm me. Tan Xiu laughed. What celestial being? Alright, let's not talk about such boring things. Let's go and have a Thai massage. A strange light flashed in Fatty Li's eyes. He didn't want to ask further since Tan Xiu didn't want to say more. However, he had secretly decided to send someone to investigate Tan Xiu's background after returning to China. Long Zhengyu looked at Tan Xiu, who was walking in the front. He then moved closer to Fatty Li and whispered, Hey, Fatty Li, don't investigate Tan Xiu's identity in private. Truth be told, you'll naturally know if he's willing to tell you. If he doesn't want to tell you, investigating his identity rashly will only bring you more harm than good. Harm than good? Could it be that he's a descendant of a country's leader? Fatty Li was surprised. Long Zhengyu stared blankly and then looked at Fatty Li with a strange expression. He didn't expect that Fatty Li's guess would be so close to the mark. Don't ask. We don't need external things to make friends. Long Zhengyu said something that he thought was very skillful. As a result, Fatty Li agreed with this remark. He dispelled the idea of sending someone to investigate Tan Xiu's identity and background and followed Tan Xiu inside. 2 hours later. The three of them walked out of the room comfortably. After the Thai massage, Fatty Li and Long Zhengyu became good friends, but Tan Xiu was abandoned by them. They would only chat with Tan Xiu occasionally. Tan Xiu was naturally happy and relaxed in such a situation. Feeling light and comfortable inside and out, Tan Xiu and Long Zhengyu, as well as Fatty Li, who was invited by Long Zhengyu, came to the villa where Long Zhengyu lived. You guys chat. I'm going to rest. After saying that, Tan Xiu turned and went to the second floor. He randomly found a room, took off his clothes and sat on the bed. He had been desperately cultivating these days. Although his cultivation was progressing every day, he didn't have a good sleep. Tang Min is looking for me. Tan Xiu sat on the bed. After a moment of silence, he took the satellite phone and dialed Ouyang Lulu's number. He got Tang Min's number from her. He didn't stay in the Tang family for a long time. Most of the time, he didn't communicate with the others, so he didn't even have Tang Min's number. However, when he asked for Ouyang Lulu's number, she pestered him for a long time. Tang Min speaking, who is this? After Tan Xiu dialed Tang Min's number, a cold and dignified voice came out. I'm Tan Xiu. Are you looking for me? Tan Xiu said. At this moment, in an important office building in the imperial capital, Tang Min looked a bit happy and smilingly said, Ah, it's Tan Xiu. I'm looking for you. I've asked several people, but none of them knows your contact information. Where are you now? When are you coming back? In Saipan, said Tan Xiu. I'm afraid I'll have to wait for the return date. I haven't dealt with the matters here yet. Hey, my dear nephew, what are you doing? Asked Tang Min curiously. I've heard a lot about you from Little E. As your aunt, I admire your abilities from the bottom of my heart. Tan Xiu was silent for a moment and then said, I bought a private island in the Pacific Ocean 2 months ago. I've been preparing to rebuild the island recently. You haven't told me why you're looking for me. You bought an island in the Pacific Ocean? Asked Tang Min in surprise. Why did you buy an island? Auntie is looking for you because I want to tell you that you're going to study in Shanghai in September. I've bought a villa for you there, and it's very close to Shanghai University. I've sent the key to my second brother and sister-in-law in Star City. A villa? Tan Xiu's lips squirmed a few times. He instinctively wanted to refuse. But after hesitating for a moment, he felt that it wouldn't be good to refuse. After getting along with the Tang family, he could clearly feel the kindness they had for him. To be honest, he didn't reject the Tang family now and even faintly enjoyed this familial affection. Furthermore, Tang Min was Chu Yi's mother, and she had even sent the key to Star City. If he were to refuse again, it would be too unreasonable and hurtful. Thank you, Auntie. Tan Xiu was silent for more than 10 seconds before he accepted it. In the office, a smile bloomed on Tang Min's face at the moment. This was the first time she heard Tan Xiu call her auntie. The satisfaction she felt immediately made her eyes a bit moist. Tan Xiu, I'm your auntie. I couldn't love and pamper you when you were young. Now that I've finally found you, I naturally have to make it up to you for so many years as your auntie. Therefore, giving you a villa is what auntie should do. In short, don't hesitate to tell me if you need anything in the future. As long as auntie can do it, I'll do it immediately even if I have to pluck the moon from the heavens. Tan Xiu's heart warmed and a trace of a smile finally appeared on his face as he said, I understand, auntie. With a satisfied smile, Tang Min said, I'm very happy to finally hear you call me auntie today. I'm very happy. That's right, let me think about what you still lack. A house, a car, clothes. Yes, there are a lot of cars and clothes in Shanghai. I'll also arrange someone to put some clothes in your villa. But you still lack a car. Just wait, auntie will help you book a car now. After saying that, Tang Min directly hung up the phone. Chapter 304. Tan Xiu wasn't interested in sports cars and instinctively wanted to refuse. But when he heard the busy tone coming from the phone, a wry smile appeared on his handsome face. Family affection. It was as though a raging fire melted ice, melting Tan Xiu's heart. A long journey tests a horse's stamina, and time reveals a man's heart. Not only did the Tang family's relatives not feel distanced from him because of his indifference and rejection, but they also showed affection and care to him again and again. The sun rose and set. 3 days passed in the blink of an eye. When Tang Xiu brought Long Zhengyu, Tom Reggie, and several of their assistants to Nine Dragons Island, they were immediately attracted by the majestic atmosphere of the palace on the island as well as the beautiful environment. What a great place! We can come here to retire when we're old. Long Zhengyu took a deep breath and couldn't help but exclaim in admiration. Tan Xiu let out a faint smile and didn't reply. This was his most important cultivation place in the future and also the base for cultivating talents. How could he let outsiders retire here? Long Zhengyu might be his friend, but that was because he had enough capital to make Long Zhengyu treat him differently. Otherwise, how could Long Zhengyu become friends with him? Nowadays, a friend was a friend, but a confidant was a confidant. They couldn't be mixed together. A true friend could pay a great price to help, while a true confidant could throw caution to the wind and treat it as his own business. Let's go. I'll take you upstairs to have a look. Standing on the spirit spring, Tan Xiu felt the fluctuation of the earth vein's spiritual power and said with a smile. Quickly. Everyone had come to the square in front of the palace. Two stalwart men appeared and quickly retreated after saluting Tang Xiu, whereas Mo all rushed out of the palace. You're back, boss. Tan Xiu nodded and said, they're my friends, so they should be staying here for 2 days. Arrange a place for them to stay. Also, what is Yu Yinyan doing? Tell her to bring a few people to the liner. We brought back a lot of food and daily necessities, enough for everyone to use for some time. Mo all nodded and personally led the way into the castle. After a tour, Long Zhengyu and Tom Reggie were quite impressed by the place. If I had money, I would really want to buy an island, Long Zhengyu said sourly. Tom Reggie took a deep breath and sighed with emotion. The value of this island is definitely not small. Although I have some money in my hands, I am afraid that if I were to buy such an island and build such a palace, I would have to empty my capital. It might not even be enough. Otherwise, I would like to buy it too. My luck is pretty good. I only spent 2.5 billion to buy this island. Tan Xiu smiled. Only? Long Zhengyu and Tom Reggie exchanged glances and shook their heads with a wry smile. They knew that Tan Xiu was rich, but they didn't expect that 2.5 billion was just a small amount of money in his eyes. However, thinking about how he would need to invest at least 20 billion to rebuild the island, the two of them instantly threw the crumbling emotions out of their heads. Not to mention 20 billion, even if the two of them were to take out 2 billion, it would still be a huge blow. The Long family was rich, but the money did not belong to Long Zhengyu alone. Tom Reggie was rich, but his wealth was less than 2 billion. Comparisons are odious. Long Zhengyu snorted. He then turned to look at Tan Xiu and said, let's not rest for now. Take us to the island. We'll stay here tonight and immediately go back to prepare tomorrow. We'll try to complete the preparatory work within 2 months. 2 months later, we'll officially start the reconstruction. Tan Xiu nodded and said, there are red marks on the reconstruction drawings that must not be touched. I'll send people to enclose those places when the time comes. Even the workers on the island are not allowed to set foot there. As for the other places, try not to destroy the trees on the island. You may need to transplant a lot of precious trees from other places in the later stage of the reconstruction. Don't worry. Long Zhengyu nodded. In the evening, when Tan Xiu led everyone to the vicinity of a spirit spring on the coastline, Long Zhengyu looked at the 3 ships anchored on the shore with a surprised expression on his face. Tom Reggie, on the other hand, looked sluggish as he looked at the old warship among the 3 ships and exclaimed, how come you have a warship here, Mr. Tang? Judging from the condition of this warship, it should still be usable. When we came to take over the island a few days ago, it was occupied by a group of pirates, said Tan Xiu with a smile. My men and I killed those islands and took them back. These 3 pirate ships were snatched from them. Tom Reggie asked, pirates? There are indeed several pirate groups in the vicinity, but they are very powerful. The Japanese and M governments have jointly encircled and annihilated them several times, yet they failed to completely wipe them out. There is even a pirate group that has expanded to more than 200 people in just a decade. Moreover, they have sufficient firepower and are definitely the overlords of this sea area. That's right, Mr. Tang, which pirate group did you annihilate? The Bloodfish Pirates. replied Tan Shio calmly. What? Tom Reggie's expression greatly changed. With a horrified expression, he exclaimed, "You actually annihilated the Bloodfish pirates? The largest pirate group in this sea area? Heavens! Duff Sky was a notorious pirate leader. He was cruel and merciless. He was insane to the extreme. The second leader, Ingelund, is even more ruthless than Duff Sky. I once fought with Ingelund in the African rainforest. At that time, Ingelund was an elite soldier of the M Nation's Marine Corps." "You're very familiar with them?" asked Tan Shio in surprise. A murderous intent burst out from Tom Reggie's eyes as he nodded and said, "More than familiar with them. It's a deep hatred. My favorite woman, the one who followed me on the run for several years, died in Duffsky's hands. The bullet hole on my chest was left by Ingelund in the past. Half a centimeter more and that bullet would have hit my heart. They're all dead." Tan Shio nodded slowly. "Duff Sky was hijacked by us and Ingelund killed him." "But I killed Ingelund." Tom Reggie bowed deeply to Tang Shio and said, "Mr. Tang, you've helped me to avenge my death by killing them. I, Tom Reggie, owe you a favor. I've decided that if you want to rebuild this island, I'll provide manpower and money, but I won't take your money. You still have to earn the money." Tan Shio shook his head and smilingly said, "Business is business, and we can be friends in private. Although this place is far from Saipan, it's still very close to the land. Don't refuse my men if they need your help when they pass through Saipan later." "Don't worry." Tom Reggie nodded. "You're Mo On's boss, so we can be friends. Plus this favor, don't hesitate to call me if you need anything in the future." Tan Shio let out a faint smile. He then looked at the dumbfounded Long Zhengyu at the side and lightly said, "Do you think it's inappropriate for us to kill people?" "To be honest, I still don't know what it feels like to kill people." Long Zhengyu forced a smile. "Growing up under the red flag and living in the modern construction, the most I can do is to be rebellious, be a silk pants, and teach some arrogant villains a lesson. Compared to you, I feel like a flower in a greenhouse." Tom Reggie was in a good mood after hearing that the Bloodfish pirates were annihilated, so he jokingly said, "A flower in a greenhouse is too feminine. I feel like a good baby. I've never seen the darkness of this world, nor have I experienced bloody killings and cruel struggles. A good baby?" Long Zhengyu touched his nose with a bit of embarrassment and helplessness on his face. Tan Shio chuckled and directly changed the topic. He pointed to the sea not far away and said, "How much do you think it will cost if I build a parking apron on the beach and a runway for airliners to land? I've never done this project before, so I don't know." Long Zhengyu shook his head. Tom Reggie stroked his chin and pondered. After half a minute, he slowly said, "If we build an airport runway and a large parking apron a few hundred meters away from the coastline using steel construction materials, I'm afraid it will cost billions more. The initial estimate is that it will increase by more than 3 billion. A large part of the cost will be the wages of the workers." Tan Shio was silent for a moment and then slowly said, "Let's finish the reconstruction of the entire Nine Dragons Island first. After the reconstruction is done, we'll talk about building the apron and runway." Tom Reggie shook his head and said, "Mr. Tang, I think it's more appropriate to build the apron and runway first." "Why?" Tan Shio was confused. "Once the reconstruction of this island is carried out, I'm afraid the amount of construction materials needed to be transported will be very large," said Tom Reggie. "If we only rely on ocean cargo ships to transport the materials, the freight for each trip will be very huge. Moreover, it will take a long time. But if we use air transport, it can speed up the transportation and reduce the freight budget." Tan Shio stared blankly for a moment before he immediately clapped and said, "You're right, Mr. Tom. Air transport is indeed more suitable than sea transport. If we set sail from Saipan, wouldn't it only take a few hours to reach here? A cargo plane can go back and forth several times in a day. The transportation speed is many times faster than sea transport." Immediately after, Tan Xiu turned to look at Mo On and asked, "Is there any way to order a few cargo planes? The kind that can transport steel and cement with good quality?" The Holy Paramitha Aviation Tech Company is in the business of passenger planes and cargo planes, said Mo On. I have the contact information of Blaine Dunn, the vice president of this company. How much is the price of a cargo plane? Asked Tan Xiu. I don't know. I've never bought a cargo plane before. Mo On shook his head. How about I contact Blaine Dunn? Chapter 305. Tan Xiu was silent for a moment and then slowly said, "Don't ask first. You can contact him now and ask if he can come to Saipan in the near future. If we can buy a few transport planes before starting the project, it will bring us a lot of convenience and save a lot of time." Mo On nodded. He walked tens of meters away and dialed a number. A few minutes later, Mo On returned to Tan Xiu's side and respectfully said, "Boss, I've contacted Blaine Dunn, the vice president of the Holy Paramitha Aviation Technology Company. He's very willing to do business with us. He also replied that he has something important to deal with in the near future, so he'll try his best to come here. He should arrive in Saipan within a week." Tan Xiu nodded and said, "In that case, keep in touch with him. Zhengyu, since we've decided to build a qualified apron and runway first, I'll have to trouble you to find an engineer in this field to design the draft. Once it's completed, we'll start immediately." Long Zhengyu said, "Rest assured. I'll find someone to finish it as fast as possible and then give it to you. But let me ask you in advance, how big are you going to build the apron?" Tan Xiu was silent for a moment and then slowly said, "It can land 4 passenger planes and a dozen helicopters. Too much would be a waste." "Okay." Long Zhengyu nodded. The next day, Long Zhengyu and Tom Reggie left with their assistants after touring the entire Nine Dragons Island. Tan Xiu, on the other hand, was completely immersed in his cultivation. His cultivation was improving along with his daily cultivation, especially when he sat above the spirit spring in the morning to absorb the Supreme Emperor Purple Qi at sunrise. In just 5 or 6 days of cultivation, his cultivation speed had increased dozens of times compared to before. He estimated that it would take him at most 3 to 5 days to reach the mid-stage of the flesh-strengthening stage. If he wanted to break through to the late stage of the flesh-strengthening stage or even the peak stage, it would be possible before the end of August. Originally, he planned to cultivate well during the summer vacation and break through to the flesh-strengthening stage before the semester started on September 1st. Even if it was just the initial stage of the flesh-strengthening stage, he had already reached the ideal level. But with the help of the Spirit Spring and the Supreme Emperor Purple Qi, his cultivation advanced by leaps and bounds. Early morning. Tan Xiu sat cross-legged on top of the spiritual spring, refining the Supreme Emperor Purple Qi that he had just absorbed into his body. At the same time, with the help of the spiritual power of the earth veins, he continuously absorbed the power of the stars and the power of the sun in the universe. Can't refine it? Tan Xiu frowned and opened his eyes. Inwardly, he laughed bitterly. The amount of Supreme King Violet Qi in his body had already reached its limit. If he wanted to continue refining the Supreme King Violet Qi, he would need time to slowly refine it. Therefore, he could only seal the Supreme Emperor Purple Qi that he had just absorbed into his dantian. My cultivation is still too weak. If my current cultivation was twice as strong, I would be able to completely refine the Supreme Monarch Violet Qi I absorbed today. Tan Xiu sighed in his heart and looked into the distance. On the mountain path, Mo On strode over. When he came before Tan Xiu, he respectfully reported, "Boss, Blaine Dunn, the vice president of Sacred Paramitha Aviation Technologies is on his way to Saipan. When are we leaving?" Upon hearing it, Tan Xiu raised his brows and said, "Go back and pack up, then we'll leave immediately. I can stay here with peace of mind if I book the transport plane earlier." "That's right, I'm going to order a batch of helicopters, preferably very advanced military helicopters. Can I book them from Sacred Paramitha Aviation Technologies?" The organization I once joined had originally booked 2 military helicopters from St. Peter Aviation Technologies, and the technology was very advanced. Mo On nodded. I was the one who contacted Blaine Dunn at that time. How many military helicopters do you think we need to book? Asked Tan Xiu. After hesitating for a moment, Mo On forced a smile and said, I don't know how to answer this question, boss. Tan Xiu thought for a while and smilingly said, since you don't know how to answer, then don't answer it. I'll decide. First, I'll book 4 transport planes and 4 military helicopters from St. Peter Aviation Technologies. Our funds are limited, so we still need to save money. We'll book more planes if we don't have enough funds later. All right. Mo On nodded. 2 days later, Tan Xiu and Mo On rushed to Saipan. According to the address given by Mo On to Blaine Dunn, the two of them met Blaine Dunn at the Lao Bay Resort. He was a burly, slightly chubby middle-aged man with shoulder-length blonde hair. He wore a high-end suit and tie, and he was accompanied by 4 cold-looking bodyguards. Dear Mr. Mo, we meet again. Blaine Dunn and Mo On hugged and warmly smiled. Mr. Blaine Dunn, this is my boss. He's also from China like me. You can call him Boss Tang, said Mo On with a smile. Blaine Dunn raised his brows and gently hugged Tan Xiu. Then, he said with a smile, You're really amazing, Boss Tang. Having Mr. Mo as your employee is more fortunate than picking up a mountain of gold. Mr. Mo has already talked to me on the phone. Do you want to order transport planes from our St. Peter Aviation Technologies? That's right. I need to order transport planes. But if your price is higher than other aviation technology companies, then we can only order them from other places, said Tan Xiu. Blaine Dunn smiled and said, Don't worry. It's not my first time doing business with Mr. Mo, so the price I'll give will be very fair. May I ask how many transport planes you're going to order? 4 transport planes and 4 military helicopters, said Tan Xiu. I need the most advanced models, and I also need the best models you can offer. You also need military helicopters? Asked Blaine Dunn in astonishment. That's right, said Tan Xiu. I'll only order 4 military helicopters for the first batch. I'll buy more after I'm done with the business here. If the funds allow it, I'll also buy the fighter jets if you sell them. Blaine Dunn was shocked inwardly. The way he looked at Tan Xiu suddenly changed. As the vice president of the St. Peter Aviation Technologies company, although he didn't need to handle the business himself, he knew that Mo On's identity wasn't simple, so he personally rushed over. But who would have thought that he would get such a big business? After a moment of silence, Blaine Dunn took out a document from his bag and handed it over to Tan Xiu, saying, Mr. Tang, this is the models of our St. Peter Aviation Technologies company, as well as the specific information of each model. After you're done choosing, I'll give you a 10% discount on the price. Tan Xiu took the document. After looking through it, he slowly said, Your company's price is really not low. As far as I know, there are several airlines that offer a much more favorable price than yours. Blaine Dunn squinted his eyes and smilingly said, It seems that Mr. Tang doesn't know about it. Our St. Peter Aviation Technologies company's transport planes and military helicopters are the best in the world, and the cost is also very high. Therefore, I hope Mr. Tang can respect our technology and the strength of our company. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, I respect you, but the price you offered is too high. How about this? I'll let On negotiate the specific price with you. Blaine Dunn glanced at Mo On, who was standing at Tan Xiu's side and kept silent. He shrugged his shoulders and said, No problem. You talk then. Tan Xiu said. I'm going to see a friend. I'll invite President Blaine Dunn for dinner tonight. Let's drink a few cups then. Okay. Blaine Dunn replied with a smile. Quickly. Tan Xiu arrived at a large warehouse in Saipan and met Tom Reggie, who was directing the workers to move the goods. Looking at the bustling scene before him, Tan Xiu noticed that the workers were moving the goods. Aside from the wooden cabinets, the rest were mostly reinforced concrete and some building materials. You're starting to prepare now. Tan Xiao affirmed Tom Reggie's ability. Tom Reggie said with a smile, after you transferred the 10 billion to Long Zhengyu, he directly transferred 2 billion to me and told me to buy the local building materials. He's negotiating a batch of construction machinery. We can stock up a lot of building materials and buy a lot of construction machinery in half a month at most. At that time, we'll start arranging people to send the first batch of goods to Nine Dragons Island. Tan Xiao gave a thumbs up and praised, it seems I made the right choice to give you the project. Let's have dinner together tonight when you're done. Tom Reggie said with a smile, I can leave at any time. There won't be any problem with my men keeping watch here. Take me to see the building materials first, said Tan Xiao. Come with me, said Tom Reggie. 2 hours later, Tan Xiao and Tom Reggie left the large warehouse and returned to the Lao Bay Resort. Tan Xiao and Tom Reggie took a shower and changed into clean and decent clothes. Then, they rushed to one of the banquet halls of the resort. At the banquet was sumptuous. After Tom Reggie learned about Blaine Dunn's identity, he took out 2 bottles of good wine from his collection. In short, the evening banquet was very pleasant, making Blaine Dunn feel at home. After the banquet, Tan Xiao and Mo On came to the villa where they lived. Then, Mo On told Tan Xiao the result of the negotiation, Boss, I've done my best to get a 20% discount. Among them, I've selected the transport plane and the military helicopter with the highest configuration. The models are very good. After the discount, we'll have to pay 1.45 billion to the other party. However, we'll have to pay Blaine Dunn an additional 20 million. Taking a commission? Tan Xiao's brows raised. He had heard of businessmen taking commissions before, but he didn't expect that Blaine Dunn, a man with a very high status, would actually care about the commission. Chapter 314, The Return of the Wolf Head. Everyone has their own selfish desires. Even if they have a distinguished status, many people would choose to take a commission if they could get additional benefits. A smile hung on the corner of Mo On's mouth as he said, Blaine Dunn is a very greedy man. He can't wait to put all the money in the world into his own pocket. He unexpectedly accepted our order. With a 20 million commission plus his commission, I'm afraid he can earn at least 50 million. He also has shares in the Holy Paramitha Aviation Technology Company. Though it's very small, it's still a considerable income. Tan Xiao said with a smile, it seems that producing and selling arms is really profitable. Mo On said, Boss, if you want to do the arms business, we can draw up a plan to get rid of a certain arms dealer and then replace him. Tan Xiao shook his head and said, forget it. I'm not interested in doing the arms business. What I'm most interested in is opening a bank. Later, when we have money, we'll also open a bank for fun. Mo On nodded with a smile. He would unconditionally support any decision Tan Xiao made. It was because in his eyes, Tan Xiao was an aloof and powerful figure. He was like a deity in the eyes of the people. Ever since he learned the cultivation technique, his overall strength had soared several times in a short time. At this time, he was confident that he could easily defeat those experts of the everlasting feast hall who were once on par with him in terms of strength. The next day, Blaine Dunn left Saipan with his bodyguards. When he rushed back to the Holy Paramitha Aviation Technology Company's HQ, he received a report from the financial department that 450 million had been remitted to the company's account. As for Tan Xiao, he was in a hurry to return to Nine Dragons Island to cultivate. Hence, after sending off Blaine Dunn, he returned to Nine Dragons Island with Mo On. In the following days, he cultivated almost every day on Nine Dragons Island. His cultivation had also broken through from the early stage of the flesh-strengthening stage to the middle stage. He was only a step away from the late stage. Time flew by. In the blink of an eye, there was only 1 week left before September 1st. Standing on top of the castle, Tan Xiao watched a large number of workers on the coastline in the distance through binoculars as they were busy building the apron and runway. He sighed inwardly, money makes the world go round. With a large sum of money, the construction of the apron and airport runway on the coastline had begun, and the progress was very fast. It was unknown what method Long Zhengyu had used, but he had poached several medium-sized construction teams from China, with a total of thousands of people. As for Tom Reggie, he had also gathered hundreds of construction teams from the best construction companies in Saipan. Coupled with a large number of newly bought construction machinery, the preliminary framework had been successfully built. At this rate, the construction of the parking apron and runway will be completed in 2 months at most. Tan Xiu put down the binoculars. When he heard someone calling him from below, his eyes immediately fell on Yi Lianyan on the square in front of the palace. As he went down from the back, he circled around and came before Yi Lianyan and asked, "What's the matter?" There was a bit of reluctance in Yi Lianyan's eyes as she said, "I'm going back to China. The school term is getting closer and closer, and I won't be able to catch up with the military training if I don't go back." Tan Xiu nodded slightly. After thinking for a moment, he said, "I'm also going back to China. If you can wait, let's go back together 3 days later. I can take care of you on the way." Yi Lianyan looked happy and nodded repeatedly. She had stayed on Nine Dragons Island for more than a month and had cultivated a good relationship with Tan Xiu's men. Furthermore, the environment here was beautiful. Aside from cooking and washing clothes every day, she usually lived a leisurely life. Even if it was a construction site far away, she would often go there. Since most of them were Chinese, she was very familiar with many of them. She liked this place. Were it not for fear that it would affect her studies and her parents' anger, she really wanted to stay here forever and live a carefree life. "Big brother Tang, can I come here again in the future?" Yi Lianyan looked up at Tan Xiu, who was half a head taller than her, and asked. "No." Tan Xiu shook his head. "This is the last time you'll set foot on this island in your life. After the reconstruction of Nine Dragons Island is completed, no outsiders will be allowed to come here easily. Unless what?" asked Yi Lianyan quickly. "Unless you sign a contract to sell yourself," said Tan Xiu with a faint smile. "You'll have to work for me for the rest of your life, else you won't be able to come here again." "A contract to sell myself?" Yi Lianyan's mouth twitched a few times and she unwillingly said, "You're an exploiter." "I need my human rights." "I have the rights here," said Tan Xiu. Yi Lianyan frowned with dissatisfaction. She snorted and strode toward the palace. With her back facing Tan Xiu, she shouted, "I'm very unhappy now. I don't want to cook breakfast anymore." A faint smile appeared on the corner of Tan Xiu's mouth. He had a good impression of Yi Lianyan. Although this girl grew up in the modern society, she was very kind and diligent. After getting along with her for more than a month, Tan Xiu was able to figure out her character and temper. Cheerful, bold, and very capable of action. From the bottom of his heart, he hoped that Yi Lianyan could stay on Nine Dragons Island and help him take care of things here. Later, when Mu Qingping came here as a housekeeper, she could also help Mu Qingping share some of the burden. After returning to the palace, Tan Xiu found that Yi Lianyan had already prepared breakfast. However, since the Mo brothers and the other 11 people were carrying out the supervision task, only he and Yi Lianyan had breakfast. "How about we discuss something?" Tan Xiu raised his head and said after eating the last mouthful of food. "What?" asked Yi Lianyan snappily. "If you're willing, you can work for me after you graduate from the university and become one of my people," said Tan Xiu. "Your salary is definitely better than what you'll get outside." Yi Lianyan rolled her eyes and snorted, "This young lady is not short of money. Unless you give me an annual salary that can make me stay here regardless of everything." "Your annual salary here is 300,000 yuan and the probation period is 3 years, said Tan Xiu. "If you do well in these 3 years, I'll double your annual salary. As for the salary after that, it'll depend on the economic consumption level outside. Also, if you can work here for more than 5 years and finally promise to work for me forever, I'll give you a big gift, 300,000 yuan. Double. 600,000 yuan. Although Yu Yanyan knew that Tan Xiu was rich, she didn't expect that he would give her such a high salary. It must be noted that even the white-collar workers of big domestic companies didn't have such a high income, right? What big gift! You're not qualified to know it yet, Tan Xiu shook his head. Your salary is really good, said Yu Yanyan with a frown. But I still have 4 years to go to the university. Who knows what will happen after that? Forget it, let's talk about this later. No hurry. Tan Xiu nodded. Think about it. Tell me after you've thought about it. If I agree now, will you give me a year's salary in advance? Asked Yu Yanyan with a smile. No effort, no return. Tan Xiu shook his head. If you want a salary, you can come here during your vacation if you're sure that you'll work for me for the rest of your life. Your salary will be 10,000 yuan a month. Boss Tang, Big Boss Tang, you're really a profiteer, Zhou, said Yu Yanyan snappily. Alright, I'm full. I'll leave the work of washing the dishes to you. Tan Xiu shook his head with a smile. After washing the plates and chopsticks, a figure quickly appeared at his side. Boss, Wolfhead is back with a lot of people, said Mo On in a low voice. How many people? Tan Xiu raised his brows and asked in surprise. About 30 people, said Mo On. Tan Xiu wiped his wet hands and said, let's go and have a look. A few minutes later, Tan Xiu saw Wolfhead on the square outside the castle, as well as 3 rows of strong men standing behind him. All of them had shaved heads and wore military vests with grim expressions. Boss! Wolfhead respectfully called out. Tan Xiu nodded and said, are they the retired soldiers you found more than a month ago? That's right, said Wolfhead. It took me a lot of effort to find them. I'm not even a match for some of them. Boss, you need to show some ability if you want to keep them here. A smile outlined on the corner of Tan Xiu's mouth as he looked at the provocative eyes. Then, he waved to Wolfhead, motioning him to move aside. Then, he stood in front of the 30 people and said with a smile, do you think that I'm not qualified to be your boss after seeing me? Yes. The neat and loud voices were deafening. Tan Xiu applauded and praised, your voices are loud and full of vigor. Furthermore, your footsteps are steady. You're obviously not an ordinary person. If you can train them well, they'll be good subordinates. Since you don't accept me, then why did you come with Wolfhead? Report. A tall and slender man with a grim expression shouted. This is not the army, and you're not my soldiers for the time being, said Tan Xiu. So, you don't need to shout to report. Say it. Tell me what you want to say. The grim man said aloud, we followed you just because we're curious. We're curious about how an unruly wild wolf like Wolfhead would become someone else's pawn. We're curious about you, and we want to see what kind of powerful character you are. If you can't satisfy us, we'll still leave. Tan Xiu looked at the others and asked in a deep voice, do all of you have the same idea? Yes. The other 29 people replied loudly in unison. Tan Xiu gave a thumbs up and praised, well done. In that case, I'll accompany you to play. Come on. I'll challenge all 30 of you. The big man sneered, you're too arrogant. Too arrogant. There's no need for 30 of us. I alone can beat you down. After that, he strode out of the crowd. Today's 3 chapters are over. Brothers and sisters, have a good time this weekend. If you have enough recommendation votes and monthly votes, Quiet Night will come back at night to continue. Chapter 306. Yesterday, I accidentally released 4 chapters. Among them, Chapter 313 and Chapter 314 have merged into one, so today, I will start updating from Chapter 315. Here's a reminder. Tan Xiu squinted his eyes and the corner of his mouth slightly hooked up. He then looked at the arrogant big man standing in front of him, shook his head and said, "You used to be soldiers, and the elites of the army at that. You should know what will happen to you if you look down on your opponent. So, bring out your skills. Everyone, come at me together." The big man clenched his fists and said in a deep voice, "You're not qualified to waste others' strength unless you can beat me. I'll tell you in advance that I was the champion of the National Military Region Fighting Tournament 4 years ago." Tan Xiu looked at his serious expression and sighed, "Forget it. Since you insist on fighting me alone, then I'll make an exception for you. Let's do it." "Humph," the big man snorted coldly and instantly sprinted. In just 2 seconds, he had already dashed to the front of Tan Xiu. His claypot-sized fist smashed toward Tan Xiu's face with a whistling sound. Speed. It was almost the limit of what an ordinary person could achieve. Strength. He had the confidence to knock down a strong bull. However, what he didn't expect was that Tan Xiu neither dodged nor evaded, and just casually stretched out his hand to grab his fist. How is this possible? The big man's eyes widened. He just had a feeling that his fist didn't hit Tan Xiu's palm, but an iron pincer. He tried his best to pull his fist back, but he couldn't do it at all. The 29 men who came to Nine Dragons Island for the first time also looked surprised. It was because they were perfectly aware that the big man who fought with Tan Xiu was not only the champion of the National Military Region Fighting Tournament 4 years ago, but he was also born with divine strength. His punch was almost 1,000 pounds. But how could he be so easily caught by his opponent with such a fast punching speed and powerful strength? Tan Xiu let out an indifferent smile and said, "I told you that fighting me alone is like an ant trying to shake a tree. You're overestimating yourself. Go." As the last word, "Ba," was uttered, Tan Xiu kicked the big man's chest. At the moment when the man didn't have the time to dodge, Tan Xiu's loosened hand clenched into a fist and punched his cheek. With a dull thud, the burly man fell heavily on the ground 4 or 5 meters away. Although his resistance to the blow was very strong and he was not directly knocked out, he kept shaking his head and only got up after a long time. The entire scene was dead silent. The other 29 people were dumbfounded as they watched this scene. The shock in their hearts had reached its peak. Never in their wildest dreams had they imagined that the ending would be like this. What's more, they didn't expect that the military combat champion from 4 years ago, an elite of the special forces, wouldn't even be able to withstand a single blow and was directly beaten to the ground. If Tan Xiu wanted to kill that burly man, he would have become a corpse by now, right? Tan Xiu looked at the shocked expressions of the others before his eyes finally fell on the big man with fear in his eyes. Then, he smilingly said, "I originally wanted to make an example out of you, but you wanted me to make an example out of you. The taste of failure isn't good, is it? I was too careless," said the big man with a bitter expression. The smile on Tan Xiu's face receded like a tide as he coldly said, "It's not that you were careless, but you were too arrogant. I originally thought that you would understand that there's always someone better than you out there, but it turns out that you're just too arrogant and conceited. Perhaps I can only make you suffer some physical pain, but if you use such a mentality to deal with the enemy, I'm afraid you'll be a corpse by now. I was wrong." The big man looked ashamed as he lowered his head and said. Tan Xiu glanced at him and then hooked his finger at the other 29 people, shouting in a deep voice, "He knows that he was wrong because he tasted the taste of failure. You haven't, so come at me together. I'll give you the best treatment if you can beat me. But if you can't beat me, then you'll have to work for me and accept the training from me and the people I appoint. Go." A burly man shouted and rushed out like an arrow. The others also knew how terrifying Tan Xiu was at this time, so they no longer acted pretentiously and quickly surrounded Tan Xiu and launched a fierce attack. Tan Xiu's feet seemed to be rooted to the ground as he waved his arms and blocked the storm-like attacks with his palms. Although the strength of these men was very strong and tacit, in Tan Xiu's view, there were still too many flaws in their cooperation. Even the lowest level joint attack technique in the immortal world was 100 times better than theirs. "You can't hurt me," So it's my turn to fight back. Tang Xiu's footsteps finally began to move. After taking half a step forward, his hands had already accurately grabbed the two legs that were whipping him. With a pull and pull, the two bodies collided with each other. Then, his palms shot out in a flash and directly slapped the two men away. His speed was several times faster than these people. These people didn't even see how Tang Xiu made his move and were sent flying in all directions. In just half a minute, all 29 members were beaten by Tang Xiu. Oh my god! Is he still human? How can his skills be so terrifying? How can he be so powerful? They're not on the same level at all. The 29 people endured the pain in their bodies and climbed up from the ground. But they didn't dare to make another move, because Tang Xiu's strength was not something they could defeat. Tang Xiu shook his wrist, feeling very satisfied. Since breaking through to the flesh refinement stage, his strength had skyrocketed, and dealing with ordinary people was no problem at all. If he had to fight 29 of them alone before his breakthrough, even if he could defeat all of them, he would probably suffer some injuries. But now, he could easily crush them. You guys are not bad. It took me about half a minute from the time I counterattacked to the end. If it was an ordinary person, I'm afraid it wouldn't even take 10 seconds. Tang Xiu said with a smile. Monster. This thought emerged in everyone's mind. At the side, Wolf Head was also shocked by Tang Xiu's strength. When he fought with Tang Xiu for the first time in the park in Star City, Tang Xiu didn't show such terrifying strength. Even though he had experienced several fights with Tang Xiu, he didn't find that Tang Xiu's fighting strength was so strong. Could it be that boss has been hiding his strength? When Wolf Head thought of this problem, his heart suddenly tightened. Line up. The big man who was the first to be knocked down by Tang Xiu looked at Tang Xiu no longer with fear or provocation. His eyes were full of fanaticism and worship. A powerhouse. A powerhouse that was respected. Especially for a special soldier like him who had experienced a hail of bullets and fought for his life, he knew how important the identity of a powerhouse was. Tang Xiu looked at the 30 members who were rearranged into 3 teams and lightly asked, "Tell me, are you willing to follow me in the future?" Yes. The 30 members shouted. Tang Xiu said, "I have conditions for you to follow me. Those who follow me will be my men for life. It's different from you in the army. I'll treat you well, and I'll arrange your lives properly. I'll take care of your family, including your wives and children, old and young. I'll let them receive good education and enjoy more benefits than ordinary people. In short, you can become stronger if you follow me, and you won't have to worry about the lower half of your body. I only need you to abide by one thing, and that is loyalty. You must carry out my orders. Can you do it?" "Yes." The 30 people answered again. Tang Xiu nodded and said, "I'll send a steward here after some time. When I'm not here, she'll take care of your basic necessities, food, housing, and transportation. She'll also calculate your family situation and then report to me. If your family has any difficulties or needs my help, you can also tell me. From today onward, you're a member of this place. You're responsible for guarding this place and stationed here." "Yes." Everyone answered again. Tang Xiu looked at the first big man he hit and asked in a deep voice, "What's your name?" Reporting. "My name is Wei Changxiong." The big man subconsciously saluted, but his hand froze halfway. "Your strength is not bad. Just like Wolf Head, you'll be a squad leader," Tang Xiu said. "See him? His name is Mo, and he'll also be a squad leader. But the 3 of you must obey Mo's orders. Mo will be in charge of this place when I'm not here." "Yes." The 4 men answered at the same time. Tang Xiu looked at Mo and said, "I'll be returning to China 3 days later, so I'll leave everything here to you. Remember, this place will be our base camp in the future. You must guard it well. I'll draw the restricted areas of 9 Dragons Island in the next 3 days. You must have 2 people take turns to guard each restricted area. No workers must be allowed to enter, and no one must be allowed to destroy even the grass and trees in the restricted areas. Understood. Mo nodded. Tan Xiu spoke again, you must also supervise the construction. You already have a copy of the reconstruction drawings I designed. If you don't understand the construction issues, you can ask a powerful engineer to help you. In short, the project must be carried out according to the reconstruction drawings I've drawn. Don't worry, boss. I'll hire a professional engineer. Don't let him intervene in the project, just let him be responsible for supervising the quality of the project and other aspects of the reconstruction. Mo All could feel that Tan Xiu attached great importance to the project, so he solemnly said, "All right." Tan Xiu nodded. In the next 3 days, Tan Xiu led Mo All and the 3 squad leaders to draw 11 restricted areas. They were the 9 ports around 9 Dragons Island, the palace, and the center of the Dragon Vein. As for Long Zhengyu and Tom Reggie, Tan Xiu also told them to restrain their workers. 3 days passed by in a flash. Finally, at the beginning of a new day, Tan Xiu and Yu Yanyan boarded the freighter bound for Saipan. Since the project had started, many freighters would come and go between 9 Dragons Island and Saipan every day. Chapter 307. Hong Kong International Airport. Tan Xiu carried his travel bag and walked out of the airport exit with Yu Yanyan. They then saw Hao Lei, who had been waiting outside for a long time. The current Hao Lei looked even more beautiful and charming. However, what caught Tan Xiu's attention was the faint true essence fluctuations coming from Hao Lei's body. "You've made great progress." Tan Xiu praised inwardly and walked toward her. "Boss, you've had a hard journey." Hao Lei also saw Tan Xiu at this moment. Her eyes swept over Yu Yanyan and then respectfully greeted him with a smile. "You've been waiting for a long time, haven't you?" Tan Xiu nodded. "Arrange for me to stay in Hong Kong tonight. Remember to book a flight for me tomorrow morning." Hao Lei nodded with a smile. Tan Xiu turned to look at Yu Yanyan and asked, "Are you going back today? Or tomorrow?" Yu Yanyan hesitated and asked in a low voice, "Will the hotel you're staying in be particularly expensive, Big Brother Tang?" "I can't afford it if it's too expensive." Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing and said, "I won't stay in a hotel. I'll stay at home." "You have a house in Hong Kong?" Yu Yanyan was surprised. "I guess so." Tan Xiu smiled. "Then I'll stay at your place for the night." Yu Yanyan quickly said. "Is the room enough?" "Yes," replied Tan Xiu. Yu Yanyan secretly heaved a sigh of relief and smilingly said, "We've been on the road for 2 or 3 days and I'm exhausted. It's great to stay here for the night. Anyways, I've decided to go home directly tomorrow. I'll stay at home for a day and then report to the university." "I haven't asked you yet. How was your college entrance exam result?" Tan Xiu curiously asked. "Which university did you get admitted to?" "Shanghai University." "Awesome, isn't it?" Yu Yanyan proudly said. "What a coincidence." Tan Xiu's mouth twitched a few times and a wry smile appeared on his face. However, looking at Yu Yanyan's proud expression, he gave her a thumbs up and praised, "Awesome." Yu Yanyan smiled. "Don't you know who I am? Back where I was from, I was a well-deserved goddess and top student. Although I didn't get first place in science, I still managed to get into the top 10. You're amazing," Tan Xiu said with a smile. Then, he turned around and walked outside. When the two of them followed Hao Lei to the parking lot, Yu Yanyan's eyes instantly widened. With a shocked expression, she pointed at the extended Rolls-Royce and asked, "This car is here to pick us up?" At this moment, Hao Lei had already opened the car door for Tan Xiu. Hearing Yu Yanyan's words, she smiled and said, "Of course, is there a problem?" Yu Yanyan hurriedly nodded. She knew that Tan Xiu was rich. After all, a person who could buy the entire Nine Dragons Island was definitely not short of money. However, she didn't expect that Tan Xiu had a house in Hong Kong and the car that came to pick him up was a luxury car worth at least a few thousand yuan. At this moment, she was really curious about Tan Xiu's identity. After carefully sitting in the car, Yu Yanyan seemed to be afraid of dirtying the car and felt a bit uneasy. She secretly glanced at Tan Xiu, who had taken out his mobile phone and asked in a low voice, "Big brother Tang, what kind of business do you do? And this, beautiful chauffeur, who is she?" "My business is very complicated, so I won't tell you the specifics," said Tan Xiu. "You can ask her who she is." "Alright, I'm going to take a nap." After saying that, he directly closed his eyes. Hao Lei, who was driving, turned her head and revealed a charming smile. She gently brushed the long hair on her forehead and said with a chuckle, "Let me introduce myself. I'm the general manager of the Grand Fortune Jewelry. You can call me Chief Hao or directly call me by my name, Hao Lei." "Nice to meet you, Sister Hao Lei," Yu Yanyan hurriedly called out. Immediately, she secretly took out her mobile phone and searched for information about the Grand Fortune Jewelry on the internet. A few minutes later, her expression had become extremely shocked. Her eyes were wide open and her small mouth was wide open. The information she got from Baidu said that the total assets of the Grand Fortune Jewelry were tens of billions, and the general manager, Hao Lei, was a strong woman in the business world. She had a high net worth, beauty, and wisdom. Oh my god! Such a powerful big shot turned out to be Tan Xiu's employee. She even came to the airport to pick people up and such trivial things as that. Could it be that Tan Xiu is the big boss of the Grand Fortune Jewelry? Number 13, Repulse Bay Road, Hong Kong. When the extended version of the Rolls-Royce entered the villa courtyard and parked in the parking space, Hao Lei got off and opened the door for Tan Xiu and said softly, "Boss, we're here." Tan Xiu opened his eyes and got off the car. He stretched and said, "You're not bad. What about Tian Li and the other two?" Hao Lei understood the meaning of Tan Xiu's words and quickly said, "They're still on Jingmen Island. I finished my work ahead of time, so I returned to Hong Kong first. I'm also temporarily managing the Everlasting Feast Hall. Thank you for your hard work." Tan Xiu nodded. "I'm done here, so you can go back first. I'll leave Hong Kong tomorrow, so you don't need to send me off. We'll take a taxi back." "Understood." Hao Lei slightly bowed and then walked to another sports car. She opened the door and drove away. Yu Yanyan, who just came out of the Rolls-Royce, felt as though she was dreaming. She was already shocked to be able to ride in a luxury car, but she never expected that Tan Xiu's home would be such a large mansion. Although this place was far inferior to the palaces on Nine Dragons Island, it was absolutely a priceless mansion in Hong Kong where every inch of land was worth its weight in gold. "You're really rich, Big Brother Tang." Yu Yanyan recalled that she had asked Tan Xiu at the airport whether he had enough rooms in his house. She immediately blushed and her ears were faintly hot. "Work hard," Tan Xiu said with a smile. "You'll be rich in the future." Yu Yanyan firmly said, "I'll definitely work hard in the future. Even if I can't earn as much as you, I'll still surpass tens of millions of people." Tan Xiu couldn't help but burst into laughter. After instructing the maids to take Yu Yanyan to rest, Tan Xiu went to the room on the second floor. On the way back, he wanted to call his mother, but then he remembered that he had to go back tomorrow and wanted to give her a surprise. "I gotta see Li Juren." In fact, Tan Xiu wasn't tired at all. He wouldn't feel tired even if he had to travel for a year and a half with his current physical condition. The reason why he wanted to stay in Hong Kong for one night was that he had something to discuss with Li Juren. "Hello, may I ask who you are?" After dialing Li Juren's private number, a woman answered the phone. "I'm looking for Li Juren." "Please let him answer the phone," said Tan Xiu. "How should I address you, sir?" "I'm Tan Xiu." I'm really sorry, Mr. Tang. Our boss is taking a lunch break and can't answer the phone for the time being. I'll inform him when he wakes up. All right. After hanging up the phone, Tan Xiu found that it was already 2 o'clock in the afternoon. He immediately went downstairs and ordered the maids to prepare the meal. To his surprise, Liu Yanyan, who was complaining that she was tired, was now in high spirits and playing with her tablet in the living room. Aren't you tired? Asked Tan Xiu curiously. I felt quite tired before, but I'm not tired after coming here, said Liu Yanyan with a smile. Do you have anything to do this afternoon, Big Brother Tang? Let's go shopping if you have nothing to do. I have something to do. Tan Xiu shook his head. You just came back and you have something to do? Asked Liu Yanyan in surprise. I need to see someone, said Tan Xiu. Liu Yanyan immediately understood and nodded. Since you don't have time, then I'll go shopping myself. I originally planned to go home directly from abroad, but I didn't expect to go to Hong Kong. I heard this place is a shopping paradise, so I must see it. Pay attention to your safety, said Tan Xiu with a smile. Call Hao Lei if you encounter any trouble. I'll send you her cell number later. Okay. Replied Liu Yanyan with a smile. At number 79 Deepwater Bay. Li Juren woke up from his sleep. As he grew older, his energy was getting worse day by day. Although he took good care of himself, he couldn't withstand the vitality that the years had drained from his body. A few minutes later, Li Juren went out of his bedroom and intended to go to the study room to read some books. However, he found his female assistant sitting on the sofa in the corner of the corridor, reading some documents. Is there something? The female assistant stood up and respectfully said, There are 2 calls for you. Li Juren took the phone and asked, Who called me? One is Boss Ma from the mainland, Ma Kaiwen, and the other is Tan Xiu, said the female assistant. Tan Xiu. Li Juren stared blankly for a moment before his complexion changed. He didn't care about Ma Kaiwen's call, but he was very concerned about Tan Xiu's call. The mysterious and powerful everlasting feast hall made him have no choice but to treat Tan Xiu as his boss with caution. After checking the call record, he dialed Tan Xiu's number. Little brother Tang, are you looking for me? Li Juren said with a smile. The female assistant standing at the side had never seen Tan Xiu. She was secretly surprised that the first person Li Juren called back was not Ma Kaiwen, but Tan Xiu, whose voice sounded very young. That's right. I want to talk to you about something. Do you have time? Let's meet and talk, said Tan Xiu. I may not have time if it was someone else, said Li Juren with a smile. But I have plenty of time for you, little brother Tang. Pick the place and I'll be there immediately. I'm not familiar with Hong Kong, so you pick the place, said Tan Xiu. Li Juren thought for a moment and said, Then let's meet at the purple bamboo tea forest. I'll send you the address later. All right. After hanging up the phone, Li Juren gave up the idea of going to the study room and ordered, Tell someone to prepare the car. I'm going out. I'll arrange it right away. Half an hour later. The purple bamboo tea forest was located in a relatively remote place in Repulse Bay. There were no high-rise buildings here, but a lush bamboo forest instead. After Tan Xiu arrived in his car, he was stopped in front of the sentry post leading to the bamboo forest. Hello, sir. Please show me your membership card. I don't have a membership card here. Tan Xiu shook his head and said, I have an appointment with a friend here. I'm Li Juren, you should know me, right? The security guard stared blankly for a moment before his attitude turned respectful and said, Are you Tan Xiu, Mr. Tang? Old Li has been waiting for you inside for a while. The number of subscriptions has dropped a lot recently. Brothers and sisters, please support the genuine version as much as possible for the sake of Quiet Night's daily updates of more than 10,000 words. Chapter 308. Inside the bamboo grove, there were several 3-story European-style buildings. Just as Tan Xiu parked his car in the parking lot, Li Juren's female assistant came to greet him. She asked Tan Xiu about his identity and quickly led him to one of the small buildings. "Little brother Tang, we meet again." Li Juren got up and greeted him with a smile. Tan Xiu let out a faint smile and shook hands with Li Juren. Then, he said with a smile, "I've troubled you to come here, old Li. Actually, the reason I came to Hong Kong this time is to discuss a business deal with you." Li Juren gestured for Tan Xiu to take a seat and curiously asked, "What business deal?" "As far as I know, your company seems to have a shipping company," said Tan Xiu. "I want to rent some cargo ships from you. I'm not sure how long I'll rent them, but I'll pay you monthly." "What do you want to rent ships for, little brother Tang?" asked Li Juren, confused. "I bought an island in the Pacific Ocean and have some projects there," said Tan Xiu. "The project is very big, so I need cargo ships to transport the goods. As a matter of fact, I've booked several transport planes from abroad and also rented some cargo ships from Saipan, but the number is far from enough." "How many cargo ships do you need?" asked Li Juren. 20. said Tan Xiu. Li Juren was secretly startled and exclaimed in admiration, "Little brother Tang is really generous. How about this, I'll give you 20 cargo ships and you can decide how long it will take. As for the rent, I already owe the delicious restaurant a favor. It's really inexcusable if I have to charge money for renting ships." Tan Xiu shook his head and said, "Business is business. Money can't be less. Name your price, else I'd rather rent someone else's cargo ships." Li Juren forced a smile and said, "Forget it. Since you insist on paying, then I'll accept it. As for the price, just name it." Tan Xiu was silent for a moment and then slowly said, "Then it's decided. I'll call my friend who contracted the project. He'll come to Hong Kong to handle the handover procedures." Li Juren nodded and curiously asked, "Little brother Tang, buying a private island and building it must have cost a lot, right?" "I don't know if I should ask, but why did you buy an island? Don't tell me you want to live in seclusion." Tan Xiu smiled and said, "Being isolated from the world doesn't count. After all, the means of transportation nowadays are so developed. It's just a personal hobby. I just want to build a paradise. We don't even know what it will be like in the future." Li Juren said with a smile, "Spending a lot of money just for your personal preference, you're also willful enough. Come, have a taste of the good tea here. It tastes really good." "All right." Tan Xiu talked with Li Juren in the purple bamboo tea grove for more than half an hour before he hurriedly left. Then, he dialed Hao Lei's number and asked her to check the price of renting a cargo ship. After receiving a reply, he transferred a sum of money to Li Juren's company account as a deposit for the boat rental. At night, Tan Xiu saw Yu Yinyan coming back with big and small bags in Shallow Water Bay Street number 13. Looking at her panting appearance, he said with a smile, "It's quite a fruitful harvest." Yu Yinyan threw the things on the sofa and then wiped the sweat on her face. She then forced a smile and said, "I regretted going out for a stroll. This damned weather, it's so hot. Do you see that white box? It's a gift for you. It's my thanks for freeloading food and drinks with you for most of the summer vacation." "A gift?" Tan Xiu rarely received gifts from others, so he was very curious about what kind of gift Yu Yinyan would give him. However, when he opened the white box, his expression turned dumbfounded as he asked, "Are you sure this is a gift for me?" Inside the white box, it was a fist-sized purple auspicious doll that looked very cute. "Of course it's a gift for you," said Yu Yinyan. "I've been in the boutique for a long time to pick such a good thing. Big brother Tang, you have a very heavy murderous aura, and you usually don't talk much. If a stranger sees you, they will give way. So, I think tying an auspicious doll on your keychain will be very interesting. It will also make others feel that you're easy to approach." "You said that I have a very heavy murderous aura?" Tan Xiu stared blankly for a moment and asked in astonishment. Yu Yinyan recalled the first time she saw Tan Xiu. He was covered with blood and had a grim expression. She nodded and said, I know that killing pirates is a good thing, but I've, after all, killed people. I'm afraid that you'll have a shadow in your heart. I told you that if you're not satisfied with this gift, I'll return it. I'm satisfied, thank you, said Tan Xiu with a smile. Yi Lianyan nodded in satisfaction. The next day, Tan Xiu watched Yi Lianyan enter the boarding gate. Seeing her reluctant expression, he waved his mobile. Half an hour later, he also took a plane. However, his destination was not Blue City, but Jingmen Island. It was only 10 a.m. when he arrived at the Everlasting Feast Hall in Jingmen Island. Grand Master, are you going to see Master now? Asked Gu Xiaoxue after seeing Tan Xiu. That's right, said Tan Xiu. I'm going to see her now. Also, bring me the wild ginseng I bought in Hong Kong. I need to give her some medicine. The wild ginseng is with Elder Ji. After she came back, she's either in the elixir room or accompanying Master in the exquisite pagoda, said Gu Xiaoxue. She should be cultivating in the exquisite pagoda at this time. Shortly after, the two of them arrived at the exquisite pagoda. After seeing Ji Qimei, Tan Xiu took the wild ginseng and came to the bedside of Gu Yan, on the 7th floor. How long has it been since the last time Yan, woke up? 5 months and 9 days. How long will it take for her to wake up according to her awakening pattern? Tan Xiu asked again. It should take about a month or so, said Gu Xiaoxue. However, because Master has consumed the pill, she might be able to wake up earlier. Tan Xiu pondered for a moment and then said, I'll return to Star City today. Shanghai University will start its semester in early September, so I'll report there. When I leave, I'll look for Ouyang Lulu to borrow her private jet. Once Yenair wakes up, you must contact me immediately. I will rush over as soon as possible. All right. Gu Xiaoxue nodded. Tan Xiu asked Ji Qimei for a knife. He cut a piece of wild ginseng and put it in her mouth. Then, he stretched out his hand and pressed on Gu Yener's chest center acupuncture point. He gently rubbed it for half a minute before letting go. From now on, every 7 days, cut a piece of ginseng and put it in Yener's mouth. Then, massage her Tanzhong acupoint for half a minute to help her absorb the medicinal effects of the ginseng tablets. Gu Yener nodded and said, I'll do it myself in the future. Tan Xiu waved his hand and said, Get out. I'll stay here to accompany Yener. Along with the departure of Gu Xiaoxue and Ji Qimei, Tan Xiu gently hugged Gu Yener and let her lean on his bosom. Then, he whispered, Yener, Master can't accompany you all the time. There are a lot of things I need to do. Let's not talk about fulfilling my mother's wish to study at the university. I have to go all out to make money to buy a lot of cultivation resources for my cultivation. But don't worry, I'll go all out to cultivate. When my cultivation is high enough, I'll find a way to cure you. Also, I found an island on Earth that's very similar to the 9 Dragons Spitting Pearl secret domain we used to live on. After I've finished remodeling that place, I'll personally bring the exquisite pagoda there. At that time, I'll find a way to settle you there. Also, Master found the Supreme Emperor Purple Qi. Once I transfer you there, I'll find a way to transfer the Supreme Emperor Purple Qi into your body. With the Supreme Emperor Purple Qi improving your physique, I think it'll be much better for you. Wake up quickly. Master really wants to see your smile. Tang Xiu chattered for a long time and only left the Linglong Treasure Pagoda when night fell. While he was having a meal in the restaurant, Ouyang Lulu came over. Tan Xiu, I heard you want to borrow my private jet. After Ouyang Lulu sat across Tan Xiu, she didn't have the slightest politeness as she grabbed the utensils on the opposite side and asked. That's right. Tan Xiu said. I need to borrow your private jet. Ouyang Lulu rolled her eyes at Tan Xiu and snappily said, No. Tan Xiu stared blankly for a moment before he immediately said with a smile, We're friends. Ouyang Lulu snorted, Don't threaten me with your friendship. You haven't fulfilled your promise until now. You've been nagging me for a long time. My promise to you. Tan Xiu was confused. What promise? Ouyang Lulu heavily slammed her chopsticks on the table. Her arms propped the table as she stood up and angrily said, You promised me that you'll go home with me to see my parents. But the result? It's been almost 2 months, hasn't it? You haven't even gone home with me until now. Tan Xiu was speechless. He had encountered all kinds of things one after another, so he had forgotten his promise to Ouyang Lulu. After hesitating, he probed, How about I go there tonight? Ouyang Lulu raised her chin and snorted, Not tonight. My parents are not in Jingmen Island, so it's useless for you to go there. Forget it. Since you're willing to go with me to see my parents, I won't bicker with you. My private jet is parked at the airport. You can use it whenever you want. I'll send you the number of the pilot and the attendant later. You can contact them when you need it. Thanks. Tan Xiu said with a faint smile. Ouyang Lulu gave Tan Xiu a big supercilious look again. She picked up her chopsticks and said, I'm really unlucky to know you. I'm always ordered around by you. But you're really good, going abroad to play without me. I don't care. Let's make it clear that you must take me with you when you go out to have fun later. No problem. Tan Xiu replied with a smile. After dinner, Tan Xiu got up and said, I gotta go. I'll return to Star City tonight and pack up. I'll go to Shanghai University the day after tomorrow. I've decided. Ouyang Lulu quickly said. What's your decision? Tan Xiu asked with a confused expression. I won't tell you first. I'll tell you after I'm done. Ouyang Lulu snorted. Today's third update will be given to you, brothers and sisters, to talk about 2 things. First, tomorrow will be a new week, so I ask brothers and sisters to recommend and support me. Second, Quiet Night has written an extra post on her WeChat public account. It's about the story of Tan Xiu's father from 20 years ago, as well as the reason why Su Shangguan and Zhang Meiyun were mean to Su Lingyun and Tan Xiu. I ask brothers and sisters to read it carefully. Chapter 309. The night sky of Star City was bright and dreamy. Specks of starlight hung in the night sky, as though an unfolding picture scroll. Meteors occasionally streaked across, as though adding a gorgeous brilliance to this picture scroll. At the South Gate Town's sentry post, the newly appointed security captain, Hu Qingxi, was wearing a brand new security uniform and chatting with the security team's deputy captain in high spirits. Old Yang, I used to be the captain of the HQ's security team and was busy all day long. I often had to be on duty at night, and there were all kinds of things during the day. I also had to spare a lot of time for training. But now that I'm here, it's too leisurely, and I'm not used to it all of a sudden. A smile hung on the corner of Hu Qingxi's mouth. He was very satisfied with his current situation. The deputy captain, Yang Bing, said with a smile, the owners of the households living here are almost all rich and powerful people with status. They are very well-mannered and rarely cause trouble for us. Besides, we have a lot of security team members here, and the monitoring is very strict. Usually, there won't be any problems for a year and a half. Hu Xiqing turned his head and looked at the villa complex's gate. With a bit of envy in his tone, he sighed and said, Yeah. Those who can live here can't do it without money. I don't know if I have any hope to live in such a luxurious villa in my life. Yang Bing smiled and didn't answer. However, he secretly despised Hu Xiqing in his heart. Even if he was the captain of the security company under the Long Group and was reassigned here, his salary could only be compared with those gold-collar workers. However, their salaries could only be compared to those gold-collar workers. If they wanted to buy a villa here, even the worst villa, they would need at least 100 or 200 years to do so. Creak, a taxi stopped at the villa complex's gate. Tan Xiu carried his travel bag. After getting off the taxi, he took the change from the driver and strode toward the gate. It had been a month or 2 since he came back here. The feeling of home made him feel very satisfied. Stop, who are you looking for? Hu Xiqing was used to speaking with such a stiff tone and attitude when he worked in the HQ, and he habitually looked at people with a scrutinizing gaze. Tan Xiu raised his brows and said, I live here. You, Hu Xiqing still wanted to speak, but he was quickly pulled by Yang Bing. With a smiling face, Yang Bing looked particularly cordial and said with a smile, Ah, Mr. Tang, you're back. I haven't seen you in a long time. A smile appeared on Tan Xiu's face as he nodded and said, I just came back here after handling some matters in another place. Saying that, he glanced at Hu Xiqing and strode into the villa area. It wasn't until Tan Xiu's figure disappeared around the corner that Yang Bing secretly wiped his cold sweat and smiled bitterly, Captain, you have to change your attitude. This is our Star City's upscale villa complex, not our Long Group's HQ. The people living here are people we can't afford to provoke. Hu Xiqing frowned and said, What do you mean? That kid said he lived here. Have you seen him before? Yang Bing helplessly said, Captain, I've not only seen him, but all the security guards in our entire villa complex have seen him. If it was someone else, I wouldn't have to smile and talk to him. His name is Tan Xiu. His residence is the king of the villa area's observation tower. What did you say? That high-class observation villa belongs to him? Yang Xiqing asked with a surprised and incredulous expression. Yang Bing looked around and found that there was no one else nearby. He then nodded and said in a low voice, Yes, it's his. Furthermore, I heard reliable news that he didn't buy that villa, but it was given to him by our young Master Long. You don't know about it yet. The relationship between Tan Xiu and our young Master Long is very good. Hu Xiqing was startled and quickly asked, You mean Chief Long, Long Zhengyu? Yang Bing nodded and said, Yes, Chief Long Zhengyu. Besides, Captain, you just came here, so there are many things you don't know. Tan Xiu's network is very powerful. From what I know, there are no less than 5 powerful people who came to our South Gate town to look for him. Who are they? Hu Xiqing asked curiously. Yang Bing whispered, Our big boss Long Hanwen, Endless Virtue Pharmaceuticals big boss Chen Zhizhong, Magnificent Tang Corporation's general manager Kang Xia, and several other people with bodyguards. Their status is obviously not inferior to our big boss. All of them have come here to look for Tan Xiu. Hiss, upon hearing this, Hu Xiqing suddenly sucked in a mouthful of cold air. In an instant, he was secretly worried about his attitude just now. He was afraid that Tan Xiu would be narrow-minded and would be dissatisfied. As long as he casually talked to his big boss or Chief Long Zhengyu, he was afraid that his position as the South Gate town security captain would be removed, and it was very likely that he would have to return home. This is troublesome. Hu Xiqing said bitterly. Yang Bing whispered, Captain, you should look for your cousin. As far as I know, Manager Long and Tan Xiu have a good relationship. Hu Xiqing stared blankly for a moment and said with astonishment, You mean, that's right. Yang Bing directly replied. Hu Xiqing nodded and said, I understand. In the South Gate town's King Villa, Mu Qingping was holding Gu Yin and reading a book, while Gu Yin was wearing headphones and was as quiet as a kitten. Now, even though Mu Qingping was sitting there casually, her body exuded a special temperament. Even her movement and expression revealed a faint trace of nobility. Big Sis Mu. Upon seeing the mother and daughter in the hall, Tan Xiu suddenly revealed a bit of a smile. Mu Qingping stared blankly for a moment. When she saw Tan Xiu, a happy expression immediately appeared on her face. She gently pushed her daughter away, stood up, slightly bowed and said with a smile, You're back? You seem to have tanned a lot, but you look healthier and more sunny. Tan Xiu said with a smile, The sun is too strong, so tanning is inevitable. How was the training outside? Have the 4 trainers left already? Mu Qingping nodded and said, They have left. They are really amazing trainers. They have taught me a lot of things during this time. I used to think that taking care of the daily necessities of the family, as well as the daily necessities would be enough. I never thought that the world's top housekeepers are simply multifunctional servers. Yes, they call the world's top housekeepers as such in private. Multifunctional servers? Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing as he shook his head and said, "Big sis Moo, I just came back from Nine Dragons Island. The construction there has already begun. Since the site is very big, there are a lot of things to manage. Therefore, you just need to take care of the overall situation. As for the other small things, you can just order them. In addition, I'll find some reliable assistants for you and send them abroad for training for a period of time. After that, I'll hand them over to you to manage." "All right." Mu Qingping nodded with a smile. At this moment, Gu Yin had taken off her headphones. A bright smile hung on her delicate little face as she opened her arms to be hugged by Tan Xiu. She then said with a grin, "Master, you're finally back. Grandma has been talking about you many times. If you didn't come back, she would have gone to look for you." Tan Xiu said with a smile, "I know. Your grandma has called me a lot." Immediately, Tan Xiu looked at Mu Qingping and asked, "My mom hasn't come back yet?" Mu Qingping said with a smile, "Not yet. They're all busy in the restaurant. Usually, they rarely come here. They only come here for 2 days a week." Tan Xiu stared blankly for a moment before he nodded and said, "I know. Yin, you play with your mom here for a while. I'm going to take a bath and change my clothes. I'll take you to our family's restaurant to eat delicious food." "Great." Gu Yin was immediately pleasantly surprised. Mu Qingping quickly said, "Wait, I still have something to report to you." "What is it?" Tan Xiu asked with a confused expression. Mu Qingping said, "In the last week, the president of Star City Chinese Medical Hospital has come to our house almost every day. He seems to be very anxious and asked me to tell you to contact him as soon as you come back." Li Hongji. Tan Xiu thought about the matter he had promised Li Hongji and secretly smiled wryly inside. The day after tomorrow was September 1st. At the latest, he had to rush to Shanghai by tomorrow night. How could he have the time to go to the Chinese medical hospital? He thought for a moment. Tan Xiu took out his mobile and dialed Li Hongji's cell number. "Tan Xiu." Li Hongji's pleasantly surprised voice came out of the phone. Tan Xiu said with a smile, "President Li, it's Tan Xiu here. Due to some issues, I've returned to China late. I know you want me to go to the Chinese medical hospital to give medical services, but the day after tomorrow is the opening day of the Shanghai University. I'm afraid I don't have enough time. Why don't I report to Shanghai University first? I'll come back to Shanghai University on the first day of the holidays in October." This, Li Hongji hesitated for a long while before he forced a smile and said, "In that case, I'll delay it." "Tan Xiu. Don't break the appointment again. I'll be waiting for you at the Chinese Medical Hospital on October 1st, it's a deal." Tan Xiu said with a smile. After hanging up the phone, Tan Xiu went to the second floor to take a bath and change his clothes. Then, he took Gu Yin and drove to the family's restaurant. Since he didn't inform his mother before coming back, Tan Xiu intended to give her a surprise. Boring. At the entrance of the restaurant, Ban's Ho was wearing a black suit. His hair was smooth and glossy, but his expression was listless. Dingzi, who was standing in front of him, was biting a toothpick and also looked bored. "If you're bored, how about I help you find some fun?" Tan Xiu, holding Gu Yin's small hand, appeared in front of them. Ban's Ho and Dingzi stared blankly for a moment. When they turned around and saw Tan Xiu, their eyes suddenly lit up as they shouted together, "Boss, you're back." Tan Xiu said with a smile, "I just came back." "Is my mom here?" Ban's Ho quickly said, "Your parents are here. I'll call them now." Tan Xiu waved his hand to stop him and said, "We'll go in by ourselves." "That's right. If you two feel bored in the restaurant, I'll give you new jobs." If you two do a good job, I'll double your salary. Ban's-ho and Dingzi's eyes lit up as they quickly asked, Boss, what jobs will you give us? Tan Xiu said with a smile, I'm going to see my mom first. I'll talk to you in detail after the party. Before the red envelope rain on July 30th, Quiet Night's WeChat public account will be updated with a special article every day. The first 3 people who correctly guess the cover will get a big red envelope. So far, many friends have gotten private red envelopes. Chapter 310. The restaurant's business was booming, and every meal was full. The cheap and good dishes made many old customers come back frequently. Coupled with the good reputation of the restaurant, new customers also came after hearing the news. Now, it could be said that Su Lingyun was pleasantly surprised and worried at the same time. The restaurant had been expanded several times, yet it still couldn't accommodate all the guests. Every day, there would be a reservation call, and within 2 hours of the restaurant's opening, the tables and boxes for lunch and dinner would be fully booked. Yunda, how about we buy the neighboring shops as well? Su Lingyun asked with a frown in the restaurant's office. Tang Yunda's body had recovered well. After more than a month of rest and recuperation, he was now almost like a normal person. Upon hearing his wife's words, he faintly smiled and said, Let's do it if you want. The restaurant's business is good, and it's always good to earn more pocket money. Pfft, Su Lingyun couldn't help but burst into laughter. She rolled her eyes at her husband and smilingly said, I know you're rich and don't like the restaurant's business. However, I'm not used to living the life of a rich wife. I think it's better to be down to earth and work hard to earn money. Xiaoyun, we're husband and wife, the most intimate people in the world, said Tang Yunda. I've given you my bank card and all the shares information, so why are you still worried? Besides, I promise you that I'll never leave you again. With me here, you can put your heart in your stomach, live a down-to-earth life, and enjoy it. No matter what you want to do, I'll support you unconditionally. Su Lingyun's heart was warmed by his words, and her eyes also revealed tenderness. Suddenly, she said, Tell me, will I become younger if I also have a beauty treatment? Tang Yunda was at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh at the sudden change of topic. He said, Even if you don't have a beauty treatment, you're still the most beautiful in my eyes. But if you want to go, I'll accompany you. I don't want you to accompany me. Su Lingyun only said it verbally. Although she was somewhat tempted, she had never had that kind of beauty treatment. She heard that it would cost a lot, so she wouldn't take action. Bitter. He had been poor before. No matter how much money she made, she didn't want to waste a single cent. Bang bang, someone knocked on the office door, and then the door was pushed open from the outside. When Tan Xiu entered the room holding Gu Yin's little hand, he saw Su Lingyun and Tang Yunda sitting on the sofa and chatting. Grandpa, Grandma. Gu Yin broke free from Tan Xiu's hand and ran over happily. The moment Su Lingyun saw Tan Xiu, she was pleasantly surprised. He reached out to hug Gu Yin, who ran over and kissed her delicate and cute little face. Then, he looked at Tan Xiu and said, Brat, you actually didn't tell me in advance that you're coming back. Look at your skin and your appearance. You're dark and skinny. You must have suffered a lot outside, right? Tan Xiu let out a faint smile and said, Mom, I didn't suffer any hardships. It's normal to tan a little in summer. Finished. He looked at Tang Yunda, nodded and called out, Dad. Upon seeing Tan Xiu come back, Tang Yunda was also a bit excited, especially when Tan Xiu called him, Dad. It made his heart tremble twice. He then said with a smile, It's good that you're back. It's good that you're back. Your mom has been talking about you every day recently. She's afraid that you've suffered a lot outside. Tan Xiu shook his head, indicating that he was fine. Then, he said, Let's go home, Mom. I've asked Big Sis Mu to prepare the meal. As for the restaurant business, just leave it to others. Let's go home, Su Lingyun nodded and said with a smile. My son is back. Even if the restaurant business is busy, I still have to spare some time. That's right, son. I've put your college admission notice in the drawer in your bedroom. I'm going to report to Shanghai the day after tomorrow, said Tan Xiu. Xiu, your aunt sent some things a few days ago. They're all in the drawer in your bedroom, said Tang Yunda. You can live in a villa outside if you don't want to live in the university dormitory when you arrive in Shanghai. I've also bought several properties for you in Shanghai. The property certificates, keys, and other things are all in your drawer. You can live in whichever villa you want. Buying a villa in Shanghai. Tan Xiu was a bit surprised. It must be known that Shanghai's housing prices were very high. Many people couldn't earn so much money for a villa in their lifetime. He hesitated for a moment and then asked, Dad, you mean that you're very rich? Tang Yunda was silent for a moment. Then, he nodded and said, I was framed and fell into a coma too suddenly, so I didn't explain a lot of things to your mom. Otherwise, you and your mother wouldn't have lived such a hard life for so many years. Let's go home. I'll tell you about it after we eat something. Tan Xiu knew that Tang Yunda had a story. He didn't even know how Tang Yunda became a vegetable at that time. Mom, you pack up first. I'm going to see Banzhou and Dingzi. I need to talk to them about something. Go. Tan Xiu left Gu Yin here and left the office alone. After finding Banzhou and Dingzi, he took them to a secluded place on the roof of the restaurant. Boss, can you tell us now? What kind of job are you going to give us? Asked Banzhou curiously. Both of you are my first subordinates, said Tan Xiu. After such a long time, I've seen what you've done. Compared to before, you're much more mature now. Therefore, I'm going to give you a very important and challenging job. Banzhou and Dingzi looked at each other with joy in their eyes. Tan Xiu's affirmation of them made them extremely excited. I'm going to adopt a group of orphans, said Tan Xiu. But it's obviously unrealistic to adopt them from an orphanage. Therefore, I'm going to let you two form two teams to look for children with good character all over the country. Age. It's best if they're between 2 and 8 years old. Boss, why do you want to adopt so many children? Asked Banzhou with a confused expression. Don't ask me what I'm going to do first, said Tan Xiu lightly. The homeless children I want you to find must be kind-hearted and have a good character. I'll send someone to check on them. If you do well, let alone doubling your salary, it won't be a problem even if I increase your salary tenfold. Really? Dingzi's eyes widened with ecstasy. It's absolutely true. Tan Xiu said with a smile. Before the two of you form your own team, I will give each of you a sum of money. I'll give you an extra reward if you do well and perform well. This reward is better than the money you get. Boss, how big of a team do you want us to form? Asked Banzhou quickly. Not much, said Tan Xiu. Each of you can only take 6 people at most. I can tell you that there are many homeless children in the world, but don't find just anyone for me. I want those who are smart and have a good character. Remember, what I want is to strive for perfection, not to make up the numbers. Banzhou and Dingzi instantly understood Tan Xiu's meaning. They nodded to express their understanding. Tan Xiu said, I'll transfer 5 million to each of your bank accounts later. How you want to spend it is your own business. But remember, within 2 months, each of you must find 20 homeless children for me. 2 months? Banzhou and Dingzi looked at each other with a strong fighting spirit burning in their hearts. Someone will contact you 2 months later, said Tan Xiu again. At that time, you'll give 40 homeless children to them. After they take those children away, a series of tests will be carried out, and some of them will be eliminated. You two will find more homeless children, and the one who leaves more will prove that you've done a good job. Boss, how do you want to deal with those eliminated homeless children? Asked Banzhou. Tan Xiu lightly said, since you found them, it's also a kind of fate. Naturally, I won't let them live a lonely and precarious life. As for how to arrange it, you don't need to worry about it. Yes. Both of them answered at the same time. A few minutes later, Tan Xiu took Gu Yin's small hand and left the restaurant with his parents. It was already 9 p.m. when they returned to Southgate Town. Mu Qingping personally prepared a table of good dishes, and under Su Lingyun's insistence, they ate and drank to their heart's content. Then, Su Lingyun helped Mu Qingping clean up the leftovers, while Tan Xiu and Tang Yunda went to the study room on the second floor. Xiu, I've been to this study room, but I didn't touch anything inside. From the nanny, Tang Yunda knew that Tan Xiu was a taboo to let others enter his study room. He woke up with a son who was already so big, which made him especially cherish it. Fearing that Tan Xiu would be unhappy, he explained. Tan Xiu said, "It's all right. It's a request from the people below. Tell me about you. We haven't had a good chat since you woke up until now." Tang Yunda forced a smile and said, "Listening to your tone, why do I have a feeling that you're the father and I'm the son?" Tan Xiu stared blankly for a moment and was secretly speechless. He was not used to being a man's son because he only had one mother before. With the sudden addition of a father, he could not help but reveal his habit of taking the initiative when he spoke. "Let's sit down and talk." After Tan Xiu sat on the sofa, he took out a cigarette from his pocket. "Give me one." Tang Yunda crooked his finger. After lighting it up and taking a few puffs, he slowly said, "Actually, I was already very rich before I became a vegetable. It had been more than 20 years since then. My previous identity was very sensitive. Even among the Tang family's people, only a few know my other identity. I'm afraid there are less than 10 of them." "What identity?" "A soldier." Chapter 311. The illustrious years had washed away everything. Tang Yunda's eyes were a bit blurred as the scenes of the past flashed in his mind like movie clips. The heroic and unyielding men, the flames of war raging in the rain of bullets, and the hot-bloodedness and perseverance that symbolized a loyal soul. After a long while, Tang Yunda woke up from his memories. A wry smile outlined on the corner of his mouth as he sighed, "That's right. I was the captain of China's Dragon Soul Special Combat Squad in those days, shouldering the heavy responsibility of protecting the country. Our Special Combat Squad was the best of the best in the country, the elite of the elites. Every member of the Dragon Soul Special Combat Squad had extremely strong individual combat ability and teamwork awareness. We rarely stayed in the country, and most of the time, we fought all over the world and carried out some extremely dangerous missions. 22 years ago, in my third year as the captain of the Dragon Soul Special Combat Squad, my team members and I fell into a desperate situation due to a mistake in our intelligence. In the end, 6 of our brothers died in battle, and I and 2 others fought our way out. After that, the 3 of us went into hiding. We must continue to complete our mission and also avenge our brothers who died in battle. When we received the intelligence and acted again, we still fell into the enemy's trap. At that time, we were lucky enough to escape by jumping into the river. However, one of my teammates was shot in the leg, which led to the necrosis of the leg nerves and made him a cripple." Having said that, Tang Yunda stopped and looked at Tan Xiu, asking, "You should have guessed it, right?" Tan Xiu nodded and said, "I guessed it. There should be a traitor among the people who gave you the intelligence, right? Or, someone deliberately wanted you to die abroad." Killing intent flashed in Tang Yunda's eyes as he said in a deep voice, "That's right. I'm not a traitor, but some people wanted me to stay abroad forever, and that's right." Back then, the Tang family had 2 political enemies, one of which was extremely powerful. After we escaped, I didn't let those 2 brothers follow me back to the country because I already guessed that there was a problem. When I returned to the country alone, I was immediately controlled by the military. Tang Yunda's killing intent was very intense as he explained. Tan Xiu listened quietly and finally understood the whole story. After Tang Yunda returned to the country, he was controlled by the military. After that, he was handed over to the military court to be accused of improper command, causing the country's top special forces team to suffer a devastating blow. Therefore, Tang Yunda concealed the news that his two teammates were still alive. Later on, the Tang family paid a hefty price to prevent the military court from convicting Tang Yunda, but they still drove him out of the army. Tang family's political enemies even forced Tang Guosheng, the head of the Tang family, to expel Tang Yunda from the family. Otherwise, many people would be dissatisfied with the Tang family's existence in the domestic political arena. At that time, Tang Guosheng was pressured to talk with his son, Tang Yunda, for a whole night. Finally, Tang Yunda, filled with grief and indignation, left his hometown and came to the hometown of one of his comrades. Star City. Is this why you lived in Star City back then? Tan Xiu frowned and asked. That's right. Tang Yunda nodded. My comrade in arms died in the war abroad. I know he only has an elderly mother at home, so I stayed in Star City to take care of her. On the 3rd month after I settled in Star City, the old man passed away. Because of the pain in my heart, I lived a befuddled life for some time. As a result, I got to know your mother, who was a nurse in the hospital at that time, after I had a gastric hemorrhage and was sent to the hospital. How did you end up in a vegetative state back then? Asked Tan Xiu. Tang Yunda sighed. When we were carrying out a mission abroad, we once fought with an organization called Azura Avici. That organization is very mysterious, and its members are very terrifying. In order to rescue a hostage back then, we mistakenly killed the vice president of Azura Avici. As a result, we suffered a crazy retaliation from the other party. We fell into 2 traps back then, both of which were set up by that organization and the Tang family's political enemies due to the same interests. Azura Avici. Tan Xiu secretly memorized the name of this organization. Tang Yunda continued, the reason why I didn't let those 2 brothers return to the country with me was because I wanted to clearly investigate why there was a traitor in the military intelligence system. On the other hand, I wanted those 2 brothers to fake their deaths to prevent Azura Avicii's people from continuing to pursue them. However, Azura Avicii's people learned that I was in Star City through various channels. 5 people appeared that day, one of whom was a golden-robed assassin of Azura Avicii, and the other 4 were silver-robed assassins. As far as I know, Azura Avicii's members are divided into ranks. From low to high, they are black-robed assassins, silver-robed assassins, golden-robed assassins, and purple-robed assassins. Xiu, if you run into Azura Avicii's people in the future, you must hide as far as you can. Those people are extremely cruel and ruthless, and their strength is also very powerful. My strength in the country back then was considered very powerful. Yet, I could barely kill 1 golden-robed assassin and 4 silver-robed assassins. Eventually, I fell into a coma due to the serious injuries I sustained. What kind of organization is this? Asked Tan Xiu. I don't know. Tang Yunda shook his head. Although I had access to high-level military secrets in the country back then, I still couldn't find out what kind of existence Azura Avicii is. Perhaps, our country's leaders don't know what kind of existence Azura Avicii is, either. Tan Xiu squinted his eyes and nodded silently. He could understand. After all, there were a lot of special existences in the world. They were absolutely behemoths in the eyes of outsiders, and their strength was so powerful that it made people shudder. For example, the existence of the Everlasting Feast Hall. When I left the army and lived in Star City in the past, I also secretly kept in touch with my 2 brothers, said Tang Yunda. The 3 of us set up a company, which was managed by one of my brothers. I owned 40% of the company's shares, and now the company has total assets of $10 billion in Hong Kong. Its headquarters is in Macau, and it's called the Infernal Spirit Group. Tan Xiu didn't know much about those large groups, especially the one in Macau. He had never heard of it. However, having total assets of $10 billion proved that the strength of this company was very powerful. His father owned 40% of the shares, which meant that he also had total assets of tens of billions of US dollars. Tang Yunda took a deep breath and bitterly said, as a matter of fact, before I was found by those people from Azura Avicii, I had a faint uneasy feeling inside. Therefore, not only did your mother and I not hold a wedding, we didn't even dare to get a marriage certificate. I was even afraid that if something really happened to me, no one would take care of your mother, so I secretly helped Su Shangguan set up the Shangguan group. The registered capital was 2 million, and I gave it to him. It's just that I never thought that after my accident, not only did he not abide by the agreement to let your mother live a rich life without worrying about food and clothing, but he even deliberately made things difficult for you and your mother. Tan Xiu was shaken inwardly and asked, "You mean? Did you give Su Shangguan the capital to start up his business? Did you have an agreement with him?" "That's right." Tang Yunda nodded. "Otherwise, how do you think a young man who just came to Star City from the countryside to work could come up with such a large sum of money to register a company? Even his first few small projects, I was the one who helped him get them." Tan Xiu slowly closed his eyes. The last bit of ill feeling he had toward Tang Yunda had disappeared without a trace. "Dad, have you seen him?" "I went to the prison and saw him." Tang Yunda nodded. "No matter what, he's still your mother's big brother. Blood is thicker than water. Although I hate him, but..." Tan Xiu nodded without a word and said, "You've told me what I want to know. Now, I just want to tell you one thing. My mother has been suffering for 20 years, and the latter half of her life is in your hands. I hope you can make her happy." Tang Yunda couldn't help laughing and said, "She's my wife. Of course, I'll make her happy. Not only her, you're my son, so I'll make you happy. As long as I can do it, I'll definitely do everything I can to get it for you. Whatever you want to do, I'll support it unconditionally." A trace of a smile appeared on Tan Xiu's face as he said, "Relying on heaven, earth, and my parents is not a real man. I can create a piece of the world with my bare hands. I think you should understand the saying, the father is a hero and the son is a real man." "I understand," Tang Yunda said with a smile. Tan Xiu nodded and suddenly asked, "What's your plan for the future?" "The most important thing is to accompany your mother," said Tang Yunda. "I've given all my belongings to her, so I'll follow her to make a living in the future." "What about revenge?" Tan Xiu asked lightly. Tang Yunda was silent for a moment and slowly said, "I'll definitely take revenge for the enmity of that year, but not now. I've been waiting for 20 years, so it's not like I can wait any longer." Tan Xiu took a deep breath and indifferently said, "Tell me when you're going to take revenge." Tang Yunda let out a faint smile and said, "All right, I've told you everything. Now, shouldn't you tell me what you've done?" Tan Xiu organized his words inwardly and said, "I've established the magnificent Tang Corporation, which can be considered as a small undertaking. I've bought an island in the Pacific Ocean and am now sending people to rebuild it. It will be our family's headquarters in the future. Also, I have another identity that my mother doesn't know about. I'm the owner of the Everlasting Feast Hall in Jingmen Island." "The Everlasting Feast Hall? How come you have a business in Jingmen Island?" asked Tang Yunda, confused. "It's not something that can be explained in a few words," said Tan Xiu. "I'll tell you when the time is right. You only need to know that the people from the Everlasting Feast Hall are our own people." "I understand." Tang Yunda nodded. After stuffing the cigarette butt in the ashtray, he asked, "Buying an island in the Pacific Ocean is quite expensive, isn't it?" "It's quite expensive," said Tan Xiu. "I spent 2.5 billion yuan at that time and borrowed it from Qin Zhizhong. However, I've returned the money to him." Chapter 312. Tang Yunda was a bit surprised. He looked at his son's calm face and curiously asked, 2.5 billion is not a small amount. Where did you get so much money?" "As far as I know, the magnificent Tang Corporation has been investing funds, yet it hasn't gotten any profit yet." "Don't worry," Tan Xiu said. "There's no problem with my money. The last thing we need to talk about now is not about money." "Then what is it?" Tang Yunda was puzzled. "Aren't you curious as to why I have an apprentice?" Tan Xiu asked. Tang Yunda stared blankly for a moment before his expression turned serious. He nodded and said, I'm indeed puzzled about this. I once asked Yin about it, but that little girl is very tight-lipped and doesn't want to tell me. It's fine if you only have her as your apprentice. But Qin Zhizhong of the Endless Virtue Pharmaceutical, a dignified billionaire, is actually willing to worship you as his master. Moreover, I heard that he's very respectful to you. It's really puzzling. I have a cultivation technique. It's just like in the fairy tales, to become an immortal. Tan Xiu said. They worship me as their master to learn the path of immortality. Tang Yunda couldn't help laughing and said, Aren't you swindling me, Xiu? How can there be such a thing as immortal cultivation in this world? Don't doubt me, Dad, Tan Xiu said solemnly. The world is big and full of strange things. There are a lot of things that ordinary people can't come into contact with. Aside from me, there are indeed cultivators in our country. Otherwise, do you think I have the ability to wake you up from your coma with my age? Really? The smile on Tang Yunda's face finally disappeared as he asked in surprise. It's true, Tan Xiu said. However, you're old and your body has been damaged for 20 years, and your essence, qi, and spirit have been overconsumed. I'm going to prescribe a medicated diet for you and Mom to eat every day. I can teach you an immortal cultivation technique half a year later. What kind of effect does this immortal cultivation technique have? Tang Yunda asked. Can it really become an immortal? Tan Xiu raised his brows and his figure instantly disappeared in front of Tang Yunda. The next moment, he appeared at the door and said, What do you think of this speed? So fast. Tang Yunda's heart was shaken. He saw a blur before his eyes and Tan Xiu sat back in front of him. The shock in his heart was like a surging tide that couldn't be calmed down for a long time. Tan Xiu said, My speed and strength are now 100 times that of an ordinary person. Furthermore, this was under the condition that my cultivation was very low. If I can cultivate to the great accomplishment realm in the future, I will be able to topple the mountains and overturn the seas. Tang Yunda's mouth twitched a few times as he looked at Tan Xiu with fiery eyes and said, I also want to learn. You must teach me in half a year. Before. He did not have much hope for revenge. After all, the enemy was too strong, so strong that he felt a deep fear in his heart. However, if he were to cultivate an immortal technique, his strength would increase tremendously. At that time, it would be much easier for him to take his revenge. After the conversation, Tan Xiu and Tang Yunda came to the living room together. Su Lingyun was keenly aware that her son and husband seemed to be a lot closer. This discovery made her very happy. Xiu, you're going to Shanghai tomorrow. Is there anything else you need to prepare? Tan Xiu shook his head and said with a smile, I don't need to prepare anything. I'll bring some clothes when the time comes. I'll buy them myself if I lack anything when I get to Shanghai. Su Lingyun nodded. She took out a bank card from her pocket and handed it to Tan Xiu, saying, Xiu, this is the living expenses Mom gave you. There's 100,000 yuan in this card. If you need anything, just buy it. Just tell me if you don't have enough money. I have money, Mom. Tan Xiu was at a loss whether he had to cry or laugh. You, Su Lingyun interrupted Tan Xiu and said, Mom knows you have money. But this is what Mom prepared for you, so you must take it. You must study hard when you get to Shanghai. There's no harm in learning more things while you're still young. I know. Tan Xiu nodded. The next day, Tan Xiu was dragged by his mother to go shopping and bought a lot of food and clothes for him. The trunk of Tan Xiu's Land Rover SUV was slowly stuffed. If it weren't for Tan Xiu's persuasion, perhaps Su Lingyun wouldn't have given up. In the afternoon, Tan Xiu came to the magnificent Tang Corporation's HQ. Since the security guards outside the HQ knew Tan Xiu, they directly let him pass. When Tan Xiu came to the general manager's office, he heard the dispute inside. Chief Kong, please let me go. I promise I'll make sure it's done right. Everything else is fine, but this matter is out of the question. The winery needs you to oversee it, so you must stay. Let Su Quan go with me. He's very smart and tactful. Chief Kong, I don't understand. Our magnificent Tang Corporation has too many things for you to deal with. Why do you have to go to Shanghai personally? You see, I've already prepared a speech for me, and I can recite it fluently. I have my own reasons for going to Shanghai. Upon hearing up to here, a smile appeared on Tang Xiu's face as he knocked on the door. After pushing the door and entering, he saw Kang Xia sitting at the desk, while Scarblade Chang was standing outside the desk with a distressed expression. Boss? The moment Kang Xia saw Tan Xiu, her eyes suddenly lit up. She jumped up from the sofa and rushed to Tan Xiu. Her eyes were full of tenderness. It had been more than a month. She missed Tan Xiu so much that she couldn't even eat or drink. She really wanted to rush to Nine Dragons Island to see Tan Xiu if it wasn't because she had too many things to deal with in the magnificent Tang Corporation. Scarblade Chang also looked pleasantly surprised upon seeing Tan Xiu's arrival. However, the smile on his face suddenly froze when he saw Kang Xia quickly running to Tan Xiu and intimately holding Tan Xiu's arm. You're going to Shanghai to attend the wine tasting conference? Tan Xiu said with a smile. I thought you wouldn't go back to Star City after coming back from abroad and would directly go to Shanghai to study. Kang Xia giggled. That's why I'm going to Shanghai to see you. Tan Xiu let out a faint smile as he looked at Scarblade Chang and said, let Kang Xia go to Shanghai's wine tasting conference. The wine we brew must be an instant hit in the country. The wine tasting conference is the best opportunity. Scarblade Chang looked at Kang Xia and then looked at Tan Xiu. A wry smile appeared on his rough face. He now understood why Kang Xia always refused him to go to Shanghai. It turned out that she was going to Shanghai not only to attend the wine tasting conference, but also to see her lover. I understand, boss. Although Scarblade Chang was depressed inside, he really couldn't continue to beg to go to Shanghai after he knew Kang Xia's real purpose. How's the winery situation? Tan Xiu said with a smile. Boss, I've done everything you asked me to do. Right now, our winery has a total of 20,000 bottles in stock. Although only 2 production lines are in use, it will increase to 5 production lines in 2 months. Once Chief Kong gives the order, our wine will start to be shipped out of the warehouse. We can immediately put them into cabinets and send them to major stores nationwide for sale. Tan Xiu said, remember, the wine produced by our winery can't be put into the market too much. I've been reading marketing books recently and found a very interesting marketing method. What marketing method? Scarblade Chang asked with a confused expression. Hunger marketing. Tan Xiu said. At the side. Kang Xia was surprised. Boss, you mean, we have to learn from the fruit mobile marketing model? Limited sales. That's right. Tan Xiu nodded and said. Our wine sales can't exceed 100,000 bottles a year. According to our previous pricing of 10,000 bottles per bottle, 100,000 bottles will be 1 billion in revenue. Kang Xia forced a smile and said, Boss, 1 billion in revenue is indeed a lot, but, I understand. Tan Xiu said with a smile. 1 billion in revenue is really not much for us. But we have to look at long-term benefits. There are some tricks that I think you should know. If we limit the sales, the price can be doubled when the market is in short supply. When the time comes, if some of it flows out of our winery, it will be a very good income. Kang Xia's eyes lit up as she said with a smile, I understand. Tan Xiu nodded. He then looked at Scarblade Chang and asked, do you have anything else? No. Scarblade Chang shook his head. After that, he suddenly realized that Tan Xiu was ordering him to leave. Instantly, a look of understanding appeared on his rugged face, and he chuckled as he bid farewell and left. After sitting on the sofa in the office, Tan Xiu looked at Kang Xia, who was sitting at the opposite side, and asked, "How's the company's situation? How's the cosmetics and health products?" "We're hoarding the goods, but our company's liquidity is running low," said Kang Xia. Tan Xiu took out his mobile and directly transferred 1 billion to the company's account. Then, he said with a smile, "Just tell me if you have no money. I don't have any other ability, but I can still make some money. I've transferred 1 billion to the company's account. You can spend it as you see fit." 1 billion. Kang Xia's eyes lit up as she was pleasantly surprised. "If we have 1 billion, I can guarantee you that our health products and cosmetics can be shipped to major stores nationwide before October 1st. We can start selling them on October 1st, you can decide on this." Tan Xiu said with a smile. "That's right, I just heard you mention Su Quan's name outside the door. Is he doing a good job now?" "He's a very smart young man. He knows how to read people's expressions, and he knows how to conduct himself." Kang Xia praised. "At first, he worked as a security guard in the winery and solved 2 problems for the winery. Then, I appointed him as the winery's deputy director. He turned out to be very capable, and Scarblade Chung is very dependent on him now. If he's trained well, he'll become a very important senior manager of our magnificent Tang Corporation in the future." "That kid has been smart since he was a child," said Tan Xiu with a smile. "Some people have a talent for business since childhood." Kang Xia said with a smile. "He's one of the best among them. To be honest, if he has capital, he can have great achievements even if he opens his own company and does business. Your evaluation of him is very high," Tan Xiu said. "Since he's good, then put him in an important position. Shortly put, I know his character, and he can be trusted. Quiet Night wants to cry, but no tears come out. Brothers and sisters, do you have the heart to do this? Quiet Night needs the motivation to erupt. I'm begging for the monthly votes." Chapter 313. Kang Xia had absolute trust in Tan Xiu, so she said with a smile, "Don't worry. As long as Su Quan is willing to work hard, I'll naturally put him in an important position. As for you, you should go to Shanghai to study. Don't be corrupted by Shanghai's debauchery and materialistic society." Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing. He shook his head and said, "There's no place in this world that can corrupt me. Just put your heart at ease. Anyways, I'll head straight to the airport and won't stay here for long. Just call me if there's anything." Kang Xia was somewhat reluctant. After all, they didn't even have a meal together after meeting Tan Xiu. However, she recalled that she would be going to Shanghai in 5 or 6 days. At that time, she would be able to see Tan Xiu again. The disappointment in her heart vanished in an instant. She and Tan Xiu had already pierced through the thin layer of window paper. Although Tan Xiu didn't give her a status and they weren't even boyfriend and girlfriend, she regarded herself as Tan Xiu's woman. Standing at the office window, Kang Xia watched as Tan Xiu walked out of the building's entrance and boarded a taxi with a travel bag. The corner of her mouth gently raised, revealing a charming smile. Still so low-key. A dignified big boss often takes taxis, can't he find a driver? At 10 p.m. Tan Xiu boarded a private jet borrowed from Ouyang Lulu and rushed to Shanghai Airport. Although the Everlasting Feast Hall had a branch in Shanghai and also had a person in charge here, he didn't inform anyone and took a taxi alone to the villa complex near Shanghai University. Blue Star Villa Complex. It was the most upscale villa complex in Hongpu District, only 5 kilometers away from Shanghai University. The nearby commercial streets were particularly flourishing, with hospitals, hotels, entertainment areas, snack streets, and other places with a large flow of people. After getting out of the taxi, Tan Xiu carried his bag and went straight to the South Gate sentry post. "Hello, sir. Please show me your pass." Several security guards blocked Tan Xiu's way. Tan Xiu took out the villa's access card, shook his head and said, "I don't have an access card, but I have the access card for this place." one of the security guards took Tan Xiu's card. When his eyes fell on the number 9 on it, his expression suddenly changed. He asked respectfully, "Sir, is this your first time here?" Tan Xiu said, "That's right. Today is the first time. I think I'll be staying here often in the future." The security guard took out his mobile and opened the internal system. After checking the information, he quickly smiled and said, "Are you Mr. Tang? You live in Villa number 9. In addition, our Villa District's property management office has already recommended a few nannies for you. The customer who bought the villa told us that you can choose any nanny you like to take care of your daily life." Tan Xiu was silent for a moment before he slowly shook his head and said, "There's no need for a nanny. I'll find one myself if I want to hire one. Can I go in now?" The security guard quickly nodded and said, "Please, Mr. Tang. That's right, this place is a bit far from Villa number 9. Do you need us to drive you there?" Tan Xiu hesitated for a moment before he nodded and said, "Then I'll have to trouble you." A few minutes later, Tan Xiu took the patrol car driven by the Villa District security guards and came to the front of Villa number 9. To his surprise, among the dozens of villas he passed by, only this villa was the most luxurious one, and its location was also the innermost. The number of security guards patrolling here also seemed to be more than other places. "Thank you. You're welcome. This is what we should do." Tan Xiu watched the security guard drive away. Then, he turned around and opened the door of the villa's courtyard. After entering, he swiped his card and entered the villa. When he turned on the lights in the villa, he found that although this villa was a bit inferior compared to the villa in Southgate Town, the value of such a luxurious villa in Shanghai was probably much higher. Immediately, Tan Xiu wandered around the villa and found that this 3-story villa not only had 6 bedrooms, but also a study, a gym, a chess and card room, a conference room, and even a private cinema. He also found that the villa was very clean. It was obvious that someone came here to clean it every day. On the second floor, Tan Xiu chose the most luxurious master bedroom. After taking a comfortable bath, he took a new set of pajamas from the cupboard and put them on, ready to rest. Tang Min had prepared enough things for him. There were at least dozens of different styles of clothes in the wardrobe, and each set of clothes was very expensive. There were even underwear, socks, and all kinds of shoes. Time to sleep. Tan Xiu didn't plan to cultivate anymore and directly lay on the bed to sleep. Early the next morning, after washing up, Tan Xiu went downstairs and opened the garage door. When he saw 4 cars parked inside, a dull expression appeared on his face. An Audi A8. A BMW 7 Series. A Ferrari supercar. A Bentley Toyota. Finally, when Tan Xiu woke up from his daze, a forced smile appeared on his handsome face. Looking at the 4 cars, he found that his Land Rover Range Rover, which was worth more than 1 million yuan, seemed a bit shabby. "Forget it. I'll just take a car to report." Tan Xiu didn't want to be too high profile, so after closing the garage door, he left the courtyard of the villa. At the entrance of the University of Monster Science and Technology, when Tan Xiu arrived, he realized how wrong he was. Because he found that there were many luxurious cars sending students to report outside the school gate. The most arrogant thing was that on the east side of the school gate, there were 7 or 8 expensive sports cars parked side by side, and 7 or 8 young men dressed in fancy clothes were smoking cigarettes, pointing at the female students who came to report, commenting on them. These should be the nouveau riches of Monster Science and Technology, right? Tan Xiu hated those nouveau riches very much, but they didn't provoke him, so he couldn't be bothered with them. He carried his travel bag and entered the school gate. The campus was very lively. Many youthful men and women had joyful smiles on their faces, walking in groups of 2s and 3s. There were also many students who came here to report, accompanied by their parents. Very soon, after asking around, Tan Xiu arrived at the new student registration office. At the history department's registration office, Wen Haijie was a bit bored as she looked at the lively scene at the other registration offices. She could only smile bitterly in her heart. Because the number of students enrolled in the History Department of Monster Science and Technology University was very small, there were only a total of 40 people. Therefore, she was in charge of receiving the new students. So far, only 4 new students from the History Department had come to report. Hello, is this the History Department's new student registration office? Tan Xiu came in front of Wen Haijie and asked aloud. Wen Haijie was shocked and quickly said with a smile, "Yes, this is the History Department's new student registration office. You're a new student this year, right?" "Yes." Tan Xiu took out the admission notice and handed it over. Wen Haijie took it with a smile. When she opened the admission notice, she was slightly stunned. Then, she looked up and carefully looked at Tan Xiu for a while, and then asked with a curious face, "You're Tan Xiu?" Tan Xiu was stunned and asked with a puzzled expression, "Do you know me?" Wen Haijie said with a smile, "It's not that I know you, but your name has long resounded in my ears. Shuangqing Province's top scorer in science subjects, and the most dazzling genius in the country with the college entrance test results. You almost scored full marks in all subjects. The most important thing is that you didn't choose the Imperial Capital University, but chose our University of Monster Science and Technology. The most puzzling thing is that you chose the History Department, which very few people are willing to study. Furthermore," Tan Xiu noticed that when Haijie's words paused, so he asked with a smile, "Furthermore what?" "Furthermore, our Vice Dean of the History Department has reminded me many times in the past few days to immediately inform him once you register at the university," said Wen Haijie. Tan Xiu pondered for a moment and slowly asked, "You mean Lu Bai?" "What Lu Bai?" "You should call him Vice Dean Lu or Professor Lu," said Wen Haijie with a smile. "All right." Tan Xiu nodded. "Please help me with the admission procedures." "No problem. Give me your ID card," said Wen Haijie. "Also, our university is the registration time for new students from the 1st to the 7th. The military training will begin on the 8th and will last for half a month. After the military training is over, the university will officially start. One more thing, your school fees are completely free of charge. As for the miscellaneous fees, Vice Dean Lu has already paid for you." "Vice Dean Lu has paid for me?" Tan Xiu was surprised. "Why?" Wen Haijie shook her head and said, "You ask me, but who am I supposed to ask? Don't tell me you don't know him before." "I know him," said Tan Xiu. "Since you know each other, then it's not a big deal for him to pay for you," said Wen Haijie. A few minutes later, Wen Haijie handled the admission procedures for Tan Xiu and gave Tan Xiu a receipt. Then, she handed a key to Tan Xiu and said, "This is the key to your dormitory. The students in your dormitory haven't come yet." Tan Xiu took the key and asked, "Are you a teacher of the History Department?" "That's right," said Wen Haijie with a smile. "You can call me Teacher 1 or Senior Sister 1. I've only been teaching here for 2 years. I'll still call you Senior Sister 1. Tan Xiu said with a smile. "No problem." Wen Haijie said with a smile. "Put your things in your dormitory first and then report to your homeroom teacher. The History Department's classroom is on the 4th floor of Block B. All right, goodbye." Tan Xiu took his bag and left the registration office and went to his dormitory. Although there was a villa outside the campus, he didn't know whether he could live outside the campus. So, he had to settle in the dormitory first and then ask the homeroom teacher. Dormitory building. Tan Xiu opened the door with the key. After entering, he found that the environment inside was good. There were 4 beds, all on the upper bunk, and below them were bookcases, one for each student. It was obvious that someone had cleaned the place in advance, and there was not much dust and dirt. However, he didn't know whether to laugh or cry. The stickers on the wall were all left, including several large stickers of girls in revealing bikinis. Tang Xiu looked at the bed number and found that the bed with his name written on it was on the left side of the inner side. He then stuffed his travel bag into the cabinet and went to the logistics department to get a bedding, a basin, a bucket, a mat, and other things. Huh. Tan Xiu came back with a lot of things and found that the lock of the dormitory was unlocked and the door was open. Today's second chapter. Chapter 314. Tan Xiu walked into the dormitory and found that in addition to a beautiful young man with earrings and shoulder-length hair, there was also a middle-aged couple. Hello. Tan Xiu greeted them with a smile. The young man jumped up from the chair and rushed to Tan Xiu. With a smile on his face, he said, "You're my dormitory brother, right?" "I'm Yu Kai." Tan Xiu said with a smile, "I'm Tan Xiu." Yu Kai said with a smile, "Nice to meet you. We'll be classmates and good friends in the future." "Mom, Dad, do you see him now? My classmate is very handsome and looks very honest. He won't lead me astray. Can you go now?" The middle-aged couple looked at each other, and then the middle-aged man said with a smile, "Little Tang, right? Our family's Yu Kai is used to being mischievous. You've been classmates for a few years, I hope you can take good care of him. If he makes trouble at school, you can call me directly." Saying that, he took out a business card from his pocket and handed it to Tan Xiu. Tan Xiu looked at the business card and found that there was nothing else on it except a name and a cell phone number. Immediately, he put the business card in his pocket and said with a smile, "Don't worry. Yu Kai's face is good. He's not a treacherous person. We'll help each other." Yu Changqing was surprised and said, "Little Tang knows how to read faces?" Tan Xiu smiled and didn't say anything. The middle-aged woman pulled Yu Changqing and said with a smile, "Little Kai. We've sent you to school. You have to study hard. Don't go out with your gang of scoundrels in the future. If I find out that you skipped class or ran out to live outside the school, I'll stop all your bank cards." "Mom, I know." Yu Kai glanced at Tan Xiu awkwardly and said with a bit of anger in his tone. Then, Yu Changqing and his wife left the dormitory. The smile on Yu Kai's face instantly disappeared and was replaced with a bored expression. He sat back on the chair, crossed his legs and looked at Tang Xiu, snorting, "Humph, what's your name, Tang Xiu?" "Tang. Tan Xiu. Don't worry. In the future, we'll be in the same dormitory, and we'll see each other all the time. We need to maintain a good relationship. I'll protect you in school." Tan Xiu smiled and said while making the bed, "You just finished reporting, right? Hurry up and head to the logistics department to collect the items. There are a lot of people over there, so we don't want the good things to be taken away by others." Yu Kai waved his hand and said, "The things given by the school are all rubbish, I don't need them. Do you have time after we report to our homeroom teacher? Let's go shopping outside. I'll treat you to a restaurant this afternoon." Tan Xiu hesitated for a moment before saying with a smile, "Sure. I want to buy some things too." Yu Kai got up and went to the toilet. When he came out, he saw that Tan Xiu had already packed up and immediately said, "Let's go." We don't know when the other two from our dormitory will arrive. Let's not wait for them. That's right, I'll leave them a note and tell them to go directly to the hotel to find us. Do you know them? Tan Xiu was surprised. No, I don't. Yu Kai shook his head. You don't know them, do you think they will go if you leave them a note? Tan Xiu forced a smile. Yu Kai shrugged and lightly said, they don't care if they go or not. Let's go. Don't dawdle like a woman. Let's go to the classroom first. Tan Xiu couldn't help laughing. He found that Yu Kai was really a spoiled brat. Just now, he deliberately acted very close to his parents, and it seemed that he did it for his parents. The history department's classroom was on the 4th floor of Block B. When Tan Xiu and Yu Kai arrived, they found that there were only 4 or 5 students chatting in the classroom. When they saw the two of them, a tall and well-mannered male student immediately said with a smile, "Welcome, 2 new students. I'm Zhao Yang from Jingmen Island. Tan Xiao. Yu Kai. The two of them reported their names. Zhao Yang grinned and said, "Two brothers, you don't know yet, right? Our teacher in charge is a great beauty, a very young beauty. I've seen a lot of beauties, but not many are more beautiful than her. That's right, she went to get something and will be back soon." Tan Xiao had a strong immunity toward beauties, so he just smiled and didn't say anything. On the contrary, Yu Kai's spirit was shaken after hearing it. He moved closer to Zhao Yang and directly sat on the desk, asking curiously, "Is she really beautiful? Really young? Do you have any photos?" Zhao Yang's eyes lit up as if he had found a confidant. He put his hand on Yu Kai's shoulder and quickly took out his mobile phone. He opened a few photos and said, "Of course I have photos. Two of them were secretly taken by me, and the last one is a photo I strongly requested with Teacher Han. How is it? Beautiful, right?" After looking at the photos, Yu Kai nodded and said with a smile, "She's beautiful. She's many times more beautiful than those female teachers I saw. Even when compared to those super exquisite women, they were not far off. I've decided that Teacher Han will be my first goal in college." Zhao Yang stared blankly for a moment before giving a thumbs up and praised, "You're awesome, brother. I'll be satisfied if I can find a campus belle as my girlfriend. I didn't expect your dream to be bigger than mine. Let's have a good drink at noon." A smile appeared on the corner of Yu Kai's mouth as he said straightforwardly, "No problem. By the way, do you have time after Tan Xiao and I report to Teacher Han? Let's go out and buy some stuff. I'll treat you at noon. Let's go to a big restaurant outside and have a good drink." "All right." Zhao Yang nodded. "I just arrived in Shanghai this morning and haven't gone out to see the scenery here yet." "That's right, if you have time one day, let's go buy a car. It's quite depressing to not have a car in Shanghai. It's inconvenient to do anything." At the side. Upon hearing Zhao Yang's words, Tan Xiao secretly forced a smile. He didn't expect that he would know two rich people as soon as he came to college. It seemed that he wouldn't be lonely in college in the future. From the corner of his eyes, he suddenly noticed that someone was approaching. When he looked up and saw the person, his expression slightly froze. He instantly looked at the person and exclaimed, "You, how come it's you? Why can't it be me?" Han Qinggu, who was holding a stack of documents in her hand, said with a bright smile on her face. "Han Qinggu, why don't you pinch me?" Tan Xiao forced a smile and said, "I feel like I'm dreaming right now." Pfft. Han Qinggu couldn't help laughing as she said with a smile, "Tan Xiao, you didn't expect that I would come to Shanghai University to be a teacher, did you? You also didn't expect that I'll be your class teacher for the next 4 years, did you?" Tan Xiao was stunned. His eyes instantly turned round as he exclaimed, You came to Shanghai University to teach? And you're going to be my class teacher for the next 4 years? Are you kidding me?" "I'm not joking with you," said Han Qinggu. "Do you still remember when I came to Shanghai during the summer vacation and asked you to help me entertain my good sister? That time, I came to Shanghai for a transfer. However, teaching in the history department is the school's arrangement." Yu Kai, Zhao Yang, and the other 4 students looked at Tan Xiao and Han Qinggu with a strange expression. They didn't expect that the two of them actually knew each other before. Zhao Yang gently touched Tan Xiao and curiously asked, "You seem to know each other before. You seem to be quite familiar with each other." "How can I not be familiar with each other?" Tan Xiao forced a smile. "She's my class teacher in high school." "What?" The others in the classroom suddenly became dumbfounded. "That's right," Han Qinggu said with a smile, "Tan Xiao was my student in high school, and he's going to be my student in the university. This shows that the fate between us is not shallow. Don't worry. You'll feel lucky to have me as your class teacher for the next 4 years. After all, this student of mine is the top scorer in science subjects in Shuangqing province. His excellent student proves that I, as a teacher, am also very powerful. Shuangqing Province. The top scorer in the college entrance examination. Yu Kai seemed to know Tan Xiu again. He raised his thumbs up and praised, "You're a top student. But, I'm going to regret it now." Regret what? Zhao Yang was confused. What else can it be? Yu Kai snappily said. It's what I just said. You can't see how deep the fate between the two of them is. Even if I exhaust all my means, I'm afraid I won't be able to win her heart. Furthermore, I'll be staying in the same dormitory and classroom with Tan Xiu for 4 years. I can't bully my brother's wife. Got it. Zhao Yang burst into laughter. Upon hearing their words, Tan Xiu immediately forced a smile and said, "Yu Kai, don't talk nonsense. I and Miss Han have a pure teacher-student relationship. If you have the ability, go ahead and pursue her." Han Qingwu was at a loss whether to laugh or cry as she looked at them. She snappily rolled her eyes at them and said, "Don't talk nonsense. I'm your teacher. If any of you dare to mess around in the future, I'll make things difficult for you." Ugh, even someone as bold as Yu Kai couldn't help but shrink his neck at this moment. A few minutes later, Tan Xiu and Yu Kai signed their names on the roster. "Teacher Han, we're going out to buy some things. If there's nothing else, we'll take our leave first." Yu Kai returned the pen to Han Qingwu. Han Qingwu nodded and said, "Go." "Tan Xiu, you haven't changed your phone number, have you? I'll call you in the afternoon. Let's have dinner together tonight." "All right." Tan Xiu nodded and followed Yu Kai out of the classroom. In the corridor. "Yu Kai, I'm willing to bet that teacher Han applied to transfer to Shanghai University from her high school because of Tang Xiu," said Zhao Yang with a serious expression. Brother Tan Xiu's charm almost made me kneel down. Yu Kai nodded and said, "That's right. Otherwise, how could a high school teacher travel thousands of miles to Shanghai University to teach? Besides, I dare say that teacher Han's family must have a lot of connections. They must have spent a lot of effort, else she wouldn't have been able to enter Shanghai University." Tan Xiu forced a smile and said, "Can you two not talk nonsense? Miss Han and I really have a very pure teacher-student relationship." "Like hell I believe you." The two of them shouted in unison. Immediately after, Yu Kai said, "Tan Xiu, you'll be our big boss from now on. As long as you can teach us some skills to pick up girls, we're willing to serve you tea and serve you like a big boss." Get lost, there's already a second update, so how can there not be a third update? __ Quiet Night has just been seriously writing on the public account about Tan Xiu's story in the immortal world. I almost forgot to update the main text. I really deserve to die. If you're interested in the content, please pay attention to it. Quiet Night will update the immortal world's news every week, and will interact with each other in a timely manner. There's also a rain of red packets from time to time __. You're tuning in to the Blissful Bookshelf YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.